You can watch more videos from Naruto Lemon on my Boosty. Link in description. Chapter 5 to 10. Enjoy watching. Naruto stood up, her head heavy and her face swollen from crying. Yesterday he and Sasuke fell asleep right in the living room where they were sitting. And today she had to go deal with the consequences of eliminating the clan and take over the affairs. And become the guardian of the younger brother. The girl looked at the boy. Even in his sleep, he frowned and bit his lip, so serious, so sad. It's okay, she'll make sure no one hurts him again. And Itachi would definitely return to them. Naruto circulated chakra through her body and healed the traces of yesterday's hysteria. She changed into a dark blue dress with the symbols of the Uchiha clan and braided her hair. She covered the sleeping Sasuke with a blanket and finally lightly kissed him on the forehead. She left the house, putting a barrier on it. There was a lot to do. She was torn between the need to bury the bodies of her clanmates and urgently go to an audience with the Hokage to gain guardianship over Sasuke. So far no one has gotten ahead of her. Many will want to take control of the ownerless heir of the clan, its territory and possessions. And their Sasuke could accidentally die on a mission, or he could be kidnapped. The choice was decided in favor of the living. The bodies will lie there for some time, the dead no longer matter. But Sasuke, he should come first for her. Naruto ran across the rooftops of the clan houses. As planned, Itachi not only killed the conspirators, but also cut them across their eye sockets, damaging their eyeballs. So that no one can acquire and transplant the Sharingan. The Hokage was already waiting for her. Naruto, I'm really sorry. He actually looked sympathetic. Yes. This did not deceive the gloomy Uzumaki. Yes, Sarutobi tried in every possible way to improve relations with the Uchihas so that he would not have to kill them. But he closed his eyes to tonight, although he was definitely aware of the events. I came to take custody of my younger brother, Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto, you're still underage. The old man tried to reason with her. Clan affairs are too difficult even for adults, and for a girl like you, Clause 5 of my father's marriage contract. Naruto spoke calmly. She now needed all her calmness to win the right to live the way they wanted. You won't achieve anything here with tears, pleas and screams, only reason logic. According to it, I'd become a full-fledged Uchiha with all the rights and responsibilities and submit to the head of the clan as an adult. The Hokage pulled out a piece of paper from the agreement, reread it, and was forced to admit that the girl was right. Naruto once again thanked her father, who was thoughtful beyond measure, although Kyuubi's comments hinted that Kushina had a hand in this too. Do you understand that if you become the head of the clan, even temporary, you will have a seat on the clan council? You will have to deal with Uchiha enterprises and affairs? Yes, I understand. Naruto nodded. Okay. The old man resigned himself. As they say, Uzumaki are never former, it's more expensive to argue with them. Even marriage to the fourth couldn't fix Naruto's mother. They themselves signed this agreement and themselves granted Naruto all the powers, rights and responsibilities of an adult shinobi. And considering that she's not even a genin yet, you can't send her on a mission. The Uchiha outplayed them. The order, certified by the Hokage's seal and signature, was ready within half an hour. Naruto received the original, the copy went to the archive. Now Naruto was considered the head of the Uchiha clan, until he decided to transfer power into the hands of Sasuke or his descendants. What are you planning to do now? Sarutobi lit a pipe. Naruto shrugged. To live, she answered simply. When she returned, Sasuke was no longer asleep. He rocked on a chair in the kitchen and nervously twirled a towel in his hands. Hearing the noise, he turned around and rushed to his sister. Naruto, where have you been? The girl smiled palely. Became your guardian, Sasuke. Now you are mine, and no one can take you away. Sasuke pressed himself against her and grabbed her by the waist. We will go to the clan? Yes, you will have to. Now a team from the Hokage will come, they will remove the bodies and help bury them. If you want, you don't have to go. No. Sasuke shook his head decisively. I will go. The clan quarter, drenched in blood, was a depressing sight. Sasuke walked slowly and looked around. The doctors were already swarming around, working, folding the bodies, covering their faces and taking them to the morgue. Silently, without saying a word. Only their attentive glances accompanied the surviving Uchiha. So they approached the mansion of the head of the clan. Sasuke couldn't resist and rushed forward inside. Naruto followed him. The boy froze on the threshold of the main room. The bodies of his parents lay there. They sat side by side as they died, and Mikoto died last, falling on her husband's body. Together until the end. It is one thing to hear, but quite another to receive confirmation of words. Sasuke screamed, tears streaming down his cheeks. He fell to his knees. Naruto wrapped her arms around him, as if she was trying to hide him from her own pain, to shelter him from the terrible picture. "Little one, don't cry, don't cry," she whispered randomly, stroking her hair. Sasuke raised his face to her and Naruto gasped. 2 commas were spinning in his reddened eyes at once. The next night turned into a test for Naruto. In his Sharingan evolution, Sasuke skipped 1 step at once, which gave a strong blow to his mind and feelings. The sensory load was off the charts. His brain simply did not have time to process the unusually large amount of information received. She gave her brother soothing infusions and dried him with a cool towel. She applied compresses to her eyes, and Sasuke complained that they felt like liquid fire was burning them. Naruto couldn't do anything about it except wait patiently for it to go away on its own. Uchiha were born adapted to their strength. Even an unawakened Sharingan gave them a significant advantage. This means that Sasuke will endure everything and cope. We just have to wait. For a while, the clan's affairs were forgotten. Naruto focused on her brother. He grabbed her hand and constantly demanded that she say something. The mind accepted the death of his parents, the departure of his brother, and now he clung to the only surviving fragment of the former world, afraid that Naruto would also leave. And she whispered, spoke, sang songs, told old legends and the history of the appearance of the hidden villages. Anything to make my brother feel better. By morning, Sasuke fell into a heavy sleep, and Naruto was able to free his hand. She left her brother in the care of 2 shadow clones while she went to the bank. She had a busy day ahead of her. All the months of their family life, every free minute Itachi devoted Naruto to the intricacies of accounting, finance, economics, everything that he, as the heir of the clan, had been taught since childhood. Naruto tried to grab it on the fly, took additional books, and then tortured Shursui when she had questions and her husband was not around. Now it became clear why he did this. Itachi really, as Shursui said, did not calculate a couple of steps, but much, much further. She checked the status of the accounts and made statements. Then she ran around the village in search of a decent company of construction contractors who could clean up the area and give it a more residential look, so that nothing in it reminds of the death of the Uchiha. Land was valued everywhere, especially in Konoha, where every piece of land was literally worth its weight in gold. Naruto had no doubt that the tenants would instantly respond to the idea of getting a place in the clan quarter. Under the protection of barriers and the name of the Uchiha, albeit deceased, but still one of the strongest clans, Sasuke woke up around noon while Naruto was sorting out papers. The first letters testing the waters have already arrived. They all expressed condolences and inadvertently wondered what the young head of the clan was going to do with the land. She may not have known much yet, but she learned quickly. She had to master the ability to write veiled letters, half hints full of double meaning. In them she invited new tenants to the clan quarter. All the same, neither she nor Sasuke need so much free space, and money is never superfluous. She was still a little offended that not much time had passed, but the clan's territory was already being divided and they wanted to inspect it. She was given almost no time to mourn, but such is life. And she will have to get used to it. Naruto walked out into the barracks of the clan quarter. Several houses combined into one small complex. A detachment lived here, which carried out security missions, transporting secret reports, and the like. 40 of the best shinobi, who were trained by the strongest representatives of the clan. Of these, 14 were Uchiha by blood. Naruto looked at the 26 people in dark, plain clothes. Professionals, you can feel it in their glances, appraising, piercing. Sasuke was noticeably nervous next to him, but didn't show it. Clan upbringing had an effect. Naruto tracked his condition with her peripheral vision. If it had been her way, the boy would still have been lying in bed after the awakening of the Sharingan, but he himself expressed the will to attend the conversation with the remnants of the squad. Naruto stood up. Those to whom you swore an oath of allegiance are dead. My name is Uchiha Naruto and I am the temporary head of the clan. If any of you wants to leave the detachment and service, I will not keep anyone. You're not even an Uchiha. Why do you need it? Shouted a young-looking shinobi. The others did not stop him. They were also waiting for an answer to this question. I may not be an Uchiha by blood, but I am an Uchiha by marriage. What's left of that marriage? The same voice. Itachi was, is, and will remain my husband. Proudly, confidently. And even death cannot change this. At that moment, Sasuke realized how proud he was of his sister. True Uchiha, proud, unapproachable, strong, independent. Naruto didn't bow her head or panic. Not a shadow of uncertainty slipped into her gestures. She stood like a ruler, like a daimyo in front of her subordinates. Full of restrained dignity. And this commanded respect. If it's important for someone to test my strength, you're welcome. Naruto stepped down from the steps of the porch. The shinobi stood up and made way for her. There was only one left, the youngest, the one who asked questions. And he immediately rushed at the girl with a sword. Naruto deflected his blow with her ninja skills, easily, naturally. And she started dancing. Flexible, predatory, fiery fox, insidious and at the same time so natural. Her dance was mesmerizing. She threw punches and didn't throw them, she played, she teased, she deceived. This was Naruto's fighting style. And no matter how hard the guy tried, he could not defeat her. At the end of the fight, she put a sword to his throat. According to the rules, he insulted the head of the clan, and she had the right to kill him. But she didn't kill. And when she straightened up and stood up, the shinobi of the squad dropped to one knee. Her opponent too. The words of the oath sounded over the courtyard. Now their body, their soul, their flesh and blood belonged to Naruto Uchiha. She won everything. Not a single one left the walls of the clan quarter. If you have acquaintances, friends, relatives in whose services the village is not interested, but who are a good warrior or paper worker, I suggest bringing them to me. Naruto looked at her now shinobi. Nobody freed us from the duty of maintaining law and order, and now we have to revive the police. If anyone is interested, I will wait for him in my mansion. Sasuke and Naruto unanimously decided to abandon their parents' mansion. They felt uncomfortable in such a large house, where the shadow of death still hovered, streaks of blood were visible on the walls, although the workers did their best to return the quarter to its marketable appearance. They liked Naruto and Itachi's little house better, they felt truly comfortable there. Sister, where are we going next? Sasuke walked next to her, looking at the girl with interest. Build relationships with gunsmiths. We shouldn't miss out on this industry. Naruto still didn't take off her mask. She is an Uchiha and must live up to it. This is the only way she can protect what is left of her family. People looked after them, whispering behind their backs. And gradually Sasuke sank, biting his lip. The rumors had a depressing effect on him. Naruto smiled lightly and hugged his shoulders. Unobtrusively, just to support. Everything will be fine, you'll see. After some time, gossip will lose its edge and they will stop paying attention to you. Are you sure? Sasuke chuckled skeptically. How can you know this? Naruto smiled a little wider. I've been the center of a lot of Konoha's gossip for years now. Only unlike the Uchiha, the demon in me is a constant phenomenon. Therefore, rumors always accompany me. Why do you think I don't study at the academy with everyone else? Sasuke imagined that Naruto had heard such whispers behind her throughout her life, and shuddered. I don't understand how you managed to survive this, he muttered. I managed somehow. Naruto shrugged. And you can handle it, you are very strong, brother. Sasuke smiled timidly, uncertainly. The gunsmith was already waiting for them. A short, stocky old man with a large nose, a fluffy gray mustache and cunning eyes. In the company of 2 apprentices, he met the new head of the clan. Good afternoon. The girl bowed politely. My name is Naruto Uchiha. I am the new head of the clan. You don't have to talk too much, girl. The old man chuckled. We did not take an oath, we worked under an agreement. So, you better tell me what you will do if we decide to leave? What will stop us from opening our own shop in Konoha? You don't have any worthwhile gunsmiths anyway. Naruto smiled, a little predatorily. She definitely liked the old man. Checking for lice, well. It was beneficial for him to work under the auspices of the Uchiha clan, since it gave weight to his products. They were paid more than the regular Hokage gunsmiths. And the material was much better. We have a niche that we can occupy. The girl shrugged. You won't work, we'll find someone else. Who will agree to work not only with weapons, but also with seals for them. With these words, she unsheathed Windmoan. The old man's eyes widened in shock when he saw the shiny steel, a sharp cutting edge, and a blade decorated with various seals of the long-dead Maelstrom. I remember this sword, he whispered. They brought him to us hopelessly dead. I just heard that someone bought it. I considered him an idiot or a collector. I didn't think anyone could wake him up. With fingers trembling with impatience, he touched the hard, cool steel, tracing the lines of the fuon with light touches, almost weightless. A whole range of feelings flashed across his face: admiration, delight, the rapture of a true master of his craft. He raised his burning eyes to the girl. And can you repeat it? He asked. That's unlikely. Uzumaki shook her head, sheathing her sword again. At least not in the next couple of years. But I have other seals that can be used to improve weapons. It will cost much more, but the demand for it will also increase. I agree. The old man did not wait and knelt down, taking an oath. He was putting not his spirit, but his body and skill into the hands of the head of the clan, which meant much more to the artisans. He straightened up and easily rose from his knees. His eyes flashed with black beetles. I didn't take an oath to Father Fugaku, and I didn't give a word to him either. But to you I entrust myself with joy. And I am grateful to you, Master. Now tell me what seals you can apply. The old man rubbed his hands. No, said Uzumaki, smiling from the bottom of her heart. You'd better write to me which types of seals are most successfully combined with the types of weapons that you create. And let one of the assistants bring me a list. We'll see what can be done. Sly Fox. The old man broke into a satisfied grin. Coming from him, this sounded like the best compliment. Naruto dealt with a new wave of correspondence, occasionally rubbing her red eyes sore from fatigue. This time, customers who had previously worked directly with the clan were worried. And Naruto, intricately weaving verbal lace, convinced them that the Uchiha could still provide protection, security, could transport secret parcels and much, much more. She convinced them that the clan was alive. And he really was more alive than dead. The squad worked like hell, carrying out an increased number of missions. There were fewer of them, and they had to work more. But Naruto didn't risk recruiting new people just yet. It is necessary to consult on this matter with Ryusan, the head of the squad, the most senior shinobi of Naruto's subordinates. The very next day after the conversation, the old gunsmith sent her a thick stack of sheets with his wishes, ideas, questions, and very tricky ones at that. And he called her a fox. Naruto grinned. They spent half the day together. The old man himself could not understand his own scribbles. And Naruto helped, left samples of seals, prescribed the sequence of making them on metal. Luckily, thanks to the records found in the Konoha archives, she had no shortage of data. They decided to start with basic seals, not to oversaturate the metal with them, so as not to sacrifice strength. New tenants appeared, and the block was again filled with life and human hubbub. Of course, not everything was so rosy. The death of the clan, the fact that they were killed by the eldest heir, greatly affected the reputation and well-being of the surviving people. Fortunately, the Uchiha security industry dealt with people who didn't care what they said. The main thing is that tasks are completed efficiently and on time. But the gun store was still the best. And this is where her Jonin friends helped. Naruto smiled involuntarily. They didn't turn away, they helped throughout the entire time. She remembered how the root people came, apparently to check the presence of dojutsu among the dead. And how Enko hissed at them with fervent anger, clearly gloating. They helped her arrange funerals, supervised them, and install gravestones. For some time, on a voluntary basis, they took over the duties of the police, for which the girl was terribly grateful to them. And they also became the best advertisement for the clan's new, improved weapons. Naruto offered to make them swords, brass knuckles, shurikens to choose from with small seals. Half price, as part of the promotion, for the very first buyers. Shinobi are not fools to refuse such a lucrative offer. And soon rumors spread throughout the village that the head of the Uchiha clan was a real Fuinjutsu master. This was facilitated by the fact that on missions the Jonins used her weapons with surprises. Naruto, are you busy? Sasuke scratched at the door hesitantly. The girl looked at her watch. It's well after midnight, my brother has to get up early for the academy tomorrow, and he's still not sleeping. Nightmares again? The boy dreamed of the death of his parents very often. He woke up screaming and looked into the darkness for a long time, unable to fall asleep. So they began to sleep on the same bed. Naruto, although it was late, came and lay down on the edge, hugging the smallest Uchiha. And he immediately rolled up under the barrel, thrusting his icy paws towards her. All in, Itachi? No, come in. The former Uzumaki smiled, putting aside the sheet with accounting calculations. She did this too. I had to hire a teacher and learn how to balance debits and credits. Sasuke hesitated on the threshold, walked through, glanced at the mountain of papers on the table, and became even more nervous. Sorry, you probably don't have time. I'll go, Sasuke. Naruto sighed heavily and pulled her brother onto her lap. He froze with tension. Yes, I am the head of the clan. Yes, I have many things to do and responsibilities. But you are my family, my only relative. And I will always find time for you, Datebale. Sasuke relaxed slightly and nodded with a smile. Are you completely tortured? He asked knowingly, pointing to the papers with his chin. Yeah, the girl yawned. But someday it will be yours, she promised. You're kidding? Sasuke asked, shocked and with some degree of horror. Once again he looked at the contracts, reports, characteristics of new tasks, sealed developments, accounting calculations. No. Naruto ruffled the spiky hair at the back of the boy's head. Someday, when you are ready, you will become the head of the clan. Don't be afraid. First I will debug the entire mechanism for you, lubricate and check all the gears so that they do not creak. The main work will be done. All you have to do is enter something of your own, if you want, of course. It's better to let Itachi become the head of the clan, Sasuke said quietly. And he looked up at his sister, full of hope and an unspoken question. Shall we return him to the village? Together? Naruto bit her lip. This was the first time Sasuke spoke about his brother out loud. Although before that he called him at night along with his parents. Of course. She hugged her brother. We will return him to Konoha. Naruto was checking the barrier seals around the perimeter of the clan quarter, carved into the small stone pillars along its border. Many needed replenishment, they could be improved. The girl has already experimented at home, placing a dampening barrier on it to prevent illegal entry and eavesdropping. And now she's taken care of the safety of the entire clan. She needs to learn from something. She was already finishing with the last pillar. Now all that remained was to activate the entire system at once. Naruto applied some chakra to the central point. Now recharging will be required only after 6 months. Before that, the energy will circulate cyclically, feeding itself. Ryuya landed next to her and got down on one knee. Naruto-sama, as you suggested, we asked around among our own who wanted to go work for the Uchiha clan. Those who wish came. They are waiting for you in front of the police building. Thank you, Ryu-san. The girl nodded. Let's go. And Shunshin moved to the controls. Yes, she also had to learn new techniques urgently. Sometimes Naruto felt like there weren't enough hours in the day for everything she had planned for the day. But night training was relaxing and toning, so she didn't complain. The people who came were civilians. Among them there were only a couple of shinobi, older than middle age. Naruto smiled and greeted politely. The visitors bowed, looking at her with a mixture of wariness and mistrust. I'm really ready to hire everyone, with good conditions and pay, but first I need to know which of you can do what. And why is it not taken anywhere? A man came forward with one hand. Gloomy, like a rock above the sea. Life beat him, but didn't break him. They don't take it because of this. He waved his stump. I lost my arm during the attack. They gave me a pension and sent me to rest. But you don't want to retire? The Uchiha responded understandingly. What did you do before? I worked with one gunsmith, creating hilts and casings for swords. My partner died in that attack. His facial features sharpened. Naruto's reaction was anything but. She clapped her hands joyfully. Yeah, date Bayo. The man shuddered and looked at the head of the clan in shock. Urgently to our gunsmith. Naruto took out a piece of paper and a pencil from the seals and scribbled a note to the old master. She still couldn't believe her luck. The master knew how to create a weapon completely, but he absolutely could not imagine how to combine the ninja handle with the seals. And there was no one to consult with. In addition, with numerous orders, he did not have time to give training kicks to his apprentices. Ryu-san, see the gentleman out, the terms of employment are standard. The shinobi bowed, grabbed the stunned man by the elbow and moved with the Shunshin. Naruto looked at the others with predatory, greedy eyes. They turned pale and at the same time noticeably relaxed. By the end of the day, Naruto was ready to dance with joy. Carpenters, joiners, artisans, and so on did not come to her. No, only housewives, pensioners by shinobi standards who were desperate to find income. And the family needed money. Naruto found an employee in the police archive and assigned one girl to receive applications from the public. She's cute and kind, but there are 4 girls in the family, among whom she is the eldest. A couple of former shinobi, who had been retired due to health reasons, agreed to patrol the streets in the evenings. Naruto promised them to knock out reinforcements from the Hokage from the newly appointed Chunin and Jounin. It's okay, they need practice, and the streets will become much calmer. She showed up home late and immediately fell exhausted on the bed, without even undressing. Sasuke silently covered her with a blanket and unraveled her hair so that her head wouldn't hurt in the morning. And he went to sleep in the room originally allocated to him. Stop going after Naruto, it's time to deal with your fears on your own. Then, on the night of his parents' death, he lost his orientation in life and in space. His whole world, his usual, measured existence, shattered into fragments. And he did not know how to restore what was lost. Naruto was nearby. Always. She held his hand when his Sharingan awakened, slept next to him, driving away terrible dreams with her warm hand. And Sasuke was grateful to her. She took on a huge burden and carried it with honor and dignity. I stayed late in the office, doing papers, calculations, and drawings. She came into the bedroom, staggering, fell on the bed dead and did not move until the next morning. But no one around him could say that Naruto's role as head of the clan was difficult. Always collected, sunny, bright, confident. With just her appearance, the sister did not allow anyone to doubt her right to supremacy in the clan. And Sasuke heard the whispers behind him give way to delighted sighs and joyful greetings as he and Naruto walked through the clan quarter. Naruto was as different from the Uchiha as she was. She might wear a mask, but her kindness, sincere concern and business acumen unwittingly won her the love of people. Even if only a detachment and tenants of the clan for now, but she has already conquered them. Those shinobi who did not trust her at first were now shaking over her like over a fragile flower. Sasuke saw the shadows that followed Naruto as soon as the girl left the house. And I had no doubt that my sister noticed them too. Ryuyu-san, despite the lack of people, always allocated a couple of people to guard Naruto and Sasuke. Sasuke hinted that only Naruto, as the head of the clan, needed to be protected, to which Ryuyu noted with a sigh that if something happened to his younger brother, the village would have to be protected from Naruto. Slowly but surely, Sasuke's life acquired new colors, new turns. It was rebuilt around the center named Naruto. She became his guide, his constancy in the chaos around him. Just as crystals form in a salt solution around a string lowered there, so his life formed around Naruto, the only dear and most beloved person in the village. Therefore, Sasuke carefully pretended not to notice how his sister sometimes stood at the window for a long time, hugging herself with her arms, as if she was frozen. Her thoughts at this time were not in the leaf, they accompanied the renegade of the Uchiha clan in everything. And Sasuke silently asked Shinigami and Kami so that nothing would happen to his brother. Because it could break Naruto. Naruto-sama, is everything okay? Today she was guarded by Ryu himself. Naruto has said more than once that she doesn't need security. The captain of her squad nodded thoughtfully, agreed meekly, and still did it his way. I had to come to terms with it. Almost. Naruto nodded. Sasuke's Sharingan has awakened, he needs training. And here I can't help him in any way. The man thought about it. The head of the clan always found time to train with his brother. She trained him more strictly and harshly than at the academy. But she had no idea about the clan dojutsu, how to work with it. Okay. The girl sighed and rubbed the bridge of her nose with her fingers. Only with Ryu did she allow herself such momentary weaknesses, knowing that the devoted warrior would not let anything slip. We'll have to kick Hatake Kakashi. He has a transplanted Sharingan, he doesn't have all the capabilities. The shinobi objected. I know, but it will do for a start. And then we'll try to find something in the clan archive. They had just arrived at the house. Naruto smiled at the man. You can go, Ryu-san. Thanks for the work. Goodbye, Naruto-sama. The girl nodded and entered the house. Finally, she dealt with all the papers, putting them on stream. Now you don't have to worry about correspondence explosions and spend more time studying with Sasuke. A strange, unfamiliar scroll was waiting for her on the table. The girl tensed. A certain number of people could get through her barrier installed on the house. She carefully approached the table and picked up the crow feather lying on top of the scroll. This one definitely could. Despite everything, Naruto left her husband access to the clan. Scroll of contract with ravens. Naruto saw her husband's signature in the last window. That's it. No, of course, she knew about his call, but somehow she didn't think that she could also sign an agreement with the crows in order to have a means of communication with Itachi. It's a matter of a couple of minutes. A drop of blood and fuin. And in front of Naruto is already sitting a large raven with scarlet eyes and gray wings. The girl spared no energy. The raven croaked hoarsely. The girl treated him to cookies and stroked his glossy feathers. Unlike other calls, only the eldest, largest crows could speak. The elders of their world. The same toads chatted incessantly, regardless of size. Crows were also excellent spies and scouts. And couriers. The bird climbed onto the girl's lap, putting her arm under her. Naruto closed her eyes. Now everything will definitely be fine. And they will return Itachi to the village. In the recruiting world of the ravens, eternal twilight reigned. The heavy, leaden sky hung overhead, with steely clouds rarely streaking across it. Trees with bare branches grew out of the darkened earth with ugly paws. Not a single leaf, not a single glimmer of green. And the sad cry of the ravens sitting on the branches could be heard everywhere. The only bright color here was a short blonde in a blue suit and a long braid. The world of ravens was not as far away as, for example, the toad world. But unlike the same toads, the birds did not let everyone in here. Or rather, they did not unconditionally obey everyone who signed the contract. Only to those who can bear the weight of the omens that they carry on their wings. Not the best place for a romantic date, but the Uchiha had no other option. Naruto shivered from the general gloominess of the atmosphere reigning here, oppressive, pressing on the senses, playing on the nerves as if on strings. Everything here spoke of a possible imminent death. The lead world of Tsukiyemi. Warm hands covered her shoulders. Naruto pressed herself against the man standing behind her with silent relief. And all her doubts and worries immediately went away, as happened every time she met Itachi. They chose this meeting place so that no one could overhear them. Every time Itachi had a break from his Akatsuki missions, he sent a short message to his wife. And she immediately moved to the crows. Since the world was much closer than the others, the time gap was not so much. But Itachi, just in case, always left one of his birds outside so that it would call him if necessary. Naruto turned around and looked at her husband. Over the past 4 years, Itachi has stretched out, become much taller, wider in the shoulders. He turned into a real man, a fighter. And in the eyes frozen water, coldness, and emptiness. He was used to not trusting anyone, he was used to being constantly on guard, and this hurt the girl. There was less and less of her Itachi left in him. But if that's what it takes for him to survive, she agrees. She will learn to love the other Itachi he is gradually becoming. Don't. Itachi ran his fingertips over her cheek. You don't need to look at me with such pain. Naruto leaned forward and rubbed her cheek against his palm, calloused and rough from constant work with weapons. But still graceful, aristocratically pale. Sometimes I hate the village, she said bitterly. For what they put you through. We made our own choice, Itachi said quietly. Don't think about it now, Naru. The husband pulled her close and kissed her. Strongly, like he didn't allow himself to do in Konoha. As if he was trying to drink it to the bottom, completely absorb it, and hide it inside himself. And Naruto agreed to dissolve in her man, because every day, despite the separation, she became more and more attached to him. I missed him more and more. I started to love him. I was right. The Uchiha chuckled. By the age of 20, we will reach children. He smiled, and Naruto beamed. Her Itachi was alive, preserved, even if only for her. I already have one child. She snorted. Itachi squeezed her hand, and they moved on, walking along the shore of the local sea, gray and gloomy, like everything around. How is Sasuke? Today he has exams at the academy, and tomorrow he will be assigned to teams. Naruto smiled. He's smart, and your and Shursui's letters with Sharingan techniques helped us a lot. He already knows what to do with 2 commas. Itachi nodded, fingering his wife's slender fingers. Here he was not wearing the hated cloak with red clouds, and Naruto could admire his figure in abundance and remember every feature. Snuggle up to a warm, strong shoulder and even close your eyes for a moment, completely trusting your spouse. How are things with Shursui? She asked, looking ahead at the thundercloud that was growing on the horizon. The sea began to worry and rage. Such storms rarely occurred here, but were always terribly powerful. And the sound of Itachi's mocking snort came as a complete surprise to her. He was clearly trying not to laugh. Keiko's daughter Karen clearly has more than just an interest in him. The corners of his lips rose. And it seemed Shursui is ready to wait for her. Naruto laughed loudly. Despite Keiko's assistance, Shursui became the only man in his and his daughter's house. He took care of basic duties, and after his vision was restored, he went on missions with Uzumaki Sr., and he even saved her life when a neighboring village was attacked by robbers. Without him, Karen could easily have lost her mother. Shursui refused to leave them, saying he needed to protect the girls. Uzumaki snorted and sarcastically, but one day, when she ran to Konoha on business, she honestly admitted to Naruto that she was glad about this circumstance. The Uchiha are too good fighters to be thrown away. And Shursui also became a mentor for little Karen. Be careful, Itachi warned. Orochimaru left our group after attacking me. He clearly needs the Sharingan. Even if he knows about Shursui's existence, which is unlikely, he is too serious an opponent for him. All that remains is Sasuke, Naruto said understandingly. I'll think about what can be done to protect him from the cursed seal. Okay. Itachi raised his head to the sky. A bird descended towards them, circling. I have to go, he said regretfully. Naruto stood on tiptoes and kissed him. I'll look forward to meeting you again, she whispered with a smile. Itachi lightly touched her forehead with his and closed his eyes, as if gathering strength before a long jump. And he disappeared, simply dissolved, using the binding seal that he left in the ordinary world. Naruto turned away from where her husband stood and exposed her wet cheeks to the cold wind. Itachi shouldn't see her cry. Only strong, able to cope with anything. At least he shouldn't worry about him and Sasuke. The next moment she too disappeared. At home, a verbal report from the dispersed clones awaited her. Still, shadow cloning is an amazing technique for performing everyday duties and routine tasks. Especially if you are an Uzumaki and can handle the amount of information received from several copies at once. Naruto leaned back in her chair and massaged her temples. Mainly accounting calculations. In the first year, they and the gunsmith decided on a standard set of seals that would be made on most of the weapons. They have also compiled a list of fuins that they can offer as an additional service, at the request of the client. And of course, there were also ordinary blades, for those who could not afford even a first-class, but expensive weapon. Most of the living Fuinjutsu masters were very far from conscription age, and many of them no longer worked in their specialty. Gradually, the art of the Uzumaki clan died out. So the appearance of a new printer and list was greeted with enthusiasm by merchants from neighboring settlements. Especially if the Uchiha weapons were tested by Konoha itself. Many of the visitors, despite the high cost, shopped at the Uchiha shop. Naruto could even tell which of them belonged to Suna, even if they were hiding. And the ANBU knew this too, but did not interfere as long as such trade brought profit in the form of taxes. The squad also increased by as many as 5 people, and the new ones swore an oath of allegiance to Naruto. It has become much easier to complete missions. Gradually, life began to take its usual course, which could not but rejoice. Come on! You are walking? There was an indignant hiss from the street. Midarashi Anko stood on the path near the house, stamping her foot. Naruto nodded to her friend and ran out of the house. They headed to a small bar where jonins usually like to hang out after missions. Today they decided to organize another get-together in honor of the graduation of Naruto and her brother from the academy, although the reason was actually much more significant due to difficult tasks, injuries and work. Their group for the first time managed to get together all at one time in one place. When the girls entered the room, the entire composition of their usual company was already there. Katsumas, the constant guards of the village gates, Kotetsu and Izumo, Genma, Kakashi, Kurenai, Sarutobi Jr., Might Guy. And everyone was closely watching to make sure they didn't pour anything for him. Yato died 2 months ago during a mission. They never had time to remember him. Therefore, the first pile was for him. Naruto immediately sent chakra through her body. It was not enough for her to get drunk, especially since she did not know how to drink at all, like Guy, who was given grape juice instead of sake. The jonins began to discuss the future compositions of the teams, which they had already been informed about, and their appointment as mentors. Naruto! Kurenai looked at her. As always, she sat next to Asuma Sarutobi, who also received the rank of genin. Didn't they tell you which team they sent you to? They said. The girl smiled slyly. Just SHHH. It's a secret. She made scary eyes. The jonins laughed. And which one? Hatake Kakashi was curious. What do you think, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto raised her eyebrows. Everything crashed. Kakashi's face, even under the mask, could easily become a monument to doomed shock. Everyone knew that Naruto, being the head of the clan, was a very punctual girl. And she hated being late. Which Hatake Kakashi simply adored. Don't worry, Kakashi-san. The girl shook her head. I won't always be able to come on time either because of clan affairs. So, together we will guide grandmothers across the road of life, avoiding black cats throughout Konoha. The company burst into laughter again, as Hatake's excuses were heard by everyone. Sasuke looked around sadly and hopefully, looking for a free place in the room, but everything was already occupied. Classmates laughed as they watched the quarrel between two eternal rivals, Yamanaka Ino and Hareno Sakura, over who would sit next to Sasuke at the same desk. No, Uchiha Jr. could take a place in the middle, thereby giving both girls victory, but something told him that he would not survive such a massive attack throughout the entire exam. Meanwhile, the girls almost grabbed each other's hair, pushing their rival away from the desk. Nobody wanted to give in. Therefore, Sasuke tried not to interfere, so as not to make himself a laughingstock. He took out a book about ninjutsu and delved into learning new techniques that Naruto told him to read. Naruto, his sister, also asked him to be gentler with his classmates, to try to make friends with someone. And when Sasuke, at that time small and stupid, tried to become arrogant, saying that he was an Uchiha, the girls simply gave him a good slap on the back of the head, which made his ears ring. If desired, Naruto's hand could become very heavy. She sat him down in the living room and clearly explained the simple, most obvious things. Even if blood is not water, this does not make him inherently superior to other shinobi. An improved genome provides only a small advantage, which must be developed over a long period of time to become stronger, understand your body better, and get the most out of your abilities. Without intensive training, he will not budge. But even then, it should be borne in mind that there will always be non-clan shinobi who are capable of surpassing even the Uchiha. The same Genma or Kakashi is currently much stronger than Sasuke. And he has yet to prove that he is worthy of the name Uchiha. Each has their own abilities, their own advantages and disadvantages. A shinobi can become stronger than his rival and competitor, but this does not make him better than him. Sasuke still remembered with shame his mistakes, the reprimand that his sister gave him. She didn't scream, didn't swear, didn't even raise her voice. But Sasuke felt pain from that still only shadow of disappointment and anxiety that flashed in her eyes. And he promised himself to never upset Naruto again. See the world through her eyes. Now he communicated quite well with the genius Nara, had a good attitude towards the good-natured fat man Choji, and could not help but recognize the undoubted talent of Hinata, who, when no one was looking at her, showed simply amazing techniques. Naruto was right. They were strong in their own way too. Just like him. He himself didn't notice how interested he became in talking with them, discussing new techniques. I just realized one day that I was used to having lunch with them on the roof. He considers them, if not friends, then certainly comrades. And all thanks to my sister. Problematic. Nara plopped down on the seat next to him and immediately lay down on the desk. Choji, crunching on chips, sat on the third chair. Silently he handed the pack to Sasuke, offering to take a couple for himself. For the eternally hungry Akimichi, this was truly a feat. Sasuke nodded and crunched on some bacon and potatoes. I have lunch, my sister sealed it with me, he said in gratitude. Choji perked up, his eyes sparkling. Naruto's cooking was popular among the academy students. And after the girl found out that Sasuke was having lunch with the company, she began to cook for a small detachment. And she demanded that everything be eaten. When did Choji need an invitation? Your sister is an ideal woman. Shikamaru sighed, closing his eyes sadly. Mother again? Sasuke asked understandingly, not paying attention to the double hissing in the background. Sakura and Ino were very unhappy about the disturbance, but trying to remove Cho from his place was like moving a mountain. The phlegmatic fat man wouldn't even move. Shikamaru's mother was clearly Uzumaki in character, because many compared him to Kushina's furious temperament. She also loved to give her husband a beating. It's a good thing Naruto didn't inherit this. I just haven't made the bed, and she immediately starts. Shikamaru yawned. You're lucky with your sister. That's for sure. Sasuke smiled. Naruto always found time for him, often discussed business with him, told him what this or that deal would bring, why it was necessary to do this and not otherwise. She explained techniques in an interesting way, and was not afraid to make mistakes or seem wrong. If something didn't work out, she laughed and tried to figure out the details with her brother. Sasuke would rather die than upset her. Iruka-sensei entered the class. He clapped his hands. Let's go back to our places. Let's start the exam. Sasuke was not afraid of the exam. He was the best in the academy in theory and practice at the same time. The same Nara could have given him 100 points ahead in theory, but due to laziness, he slept in his seat for most of the lesson. And Sasuke was in no hurry to stand out. It's stupid to brag about your achievements in front of your children. It is much more pleasant to receive praise from Naruto, who is superior in strength to him. Or when she conveyed news from her brother, where in a short note, familiar handwriting said how proud Itachi was of his Otuto. This was what Sasuke strived to become stronger for. To make Naruto smile. And to return Itachi to the village. And to enjoy life, as his former Uzumaki taught him. After the academy, Sasuke hurried to get out of the building as quickly as possible. Anyway, the distribution into teams and the meeting with the mentor are only tomorrow, and now it's better to quickly hide from the girls who want to congratulate him on receiving the genin headband. He could have run straight home, but his sister warned him that she was meeting with Jonins at a bar today. Once every 3 or 4 months they arranged such gatherings, and Naruto always returned cheerful. Her gait became lighter. And Sasuke was glad that his sister was able to escape at least a little from everyday affairs. Where shall we go? Nara and Choji caught up with him. An Inuzuka and his dog flashed nearby, but Sasuke could not stand this troublemaker, who considered himself better than everyone else. This was another reason why he chose to change his behavior and views of others. I didn't want to be like this upstart, whom even Chao could easily send into unconsciousness with a movement of his stomach. I want a holiday. The fat man crunched chips from a new pack. And my parents went on a mission. Like mine in Yamanaka. Shikamaru sighed. Their parents always worked together, they even developed a well-coordinated algorithm. Therefore, the friends had no doubt about the composition of the team they would be included in. Sasuke frowned for a long time until they walked a whole block. Come to me, he finally decided. For the night. Let's have fun. His sister subtly and not very bluntly hinted to him to invite his friends for an overnight stay to celebrate his graduation from the academy. And I prepared goodies for almost a month in advance. She wished Sasuke wasn't so isolated from the others. For the younger Uchiha himself, this was a difficult decision. The clan's tragedy was still fresh in people's minds, even as new police forces emerged and new Uchihas prospered. And besides, home is his fortress, something constant in his life. Something just for him and his sister. That's why the decision to invite his comrades to the territory of not even the clan his and Naruto's home was so difficult for him. Great! Choji was delighted. And for some reason Sasuke's heart was relieved. Was he afraid of rejection? Come with us, Shika. Shikamaru raised his sad eyes to the clouds. My mother is waiting for me to come home. It will be problematic to come to an agreement with her. Naruto will ask you to leave. Sasuke shrugged. Okay then. The genius nodded. Together they went to the Uchiha clan quarter. Sasuke led them along the vibrant street, greeting familiar shopkeepers. Some even handed him bags of his favorite tomatoes, giving him a treat. Just like that, without any second thought. They were already used to the fact that Uchiha Naruto would take care of them, and there was no need to fawn over her. And even Sasuke admitted that such a lively manner of communication was much better than the regal ceremony that reigned here under his father. He knew how to open the barrier of the house and let guests through. Therefore, he immediately took us and showed his comrades the rooms in which they would spend the night. Naruto did not give up hope for the development of her brother's socialization and prepared spare futons. The guys unanimously decided to steal all the futons into the living room so that they could chat until late at night. And then Sasuke led them to the kitchen to feast on Naruto's treats. They were all members of the clan and knew the etiquette of receiving guests. But with mutual understanding glances, it was decided to forget about him at least today. Naruto returned at 8 in the evening, when the boys, overfed, happy and tired, were lying on their stomachs in the living room and learning new techniques from Sasuke's book. Good evening. The girls smiled welcomingly. My name is Naruto Uchiha. I am Sasuke's older sister. As the head of the clan, Naruto could not afford to wear short shorts or t-shirts on her naked body, like Mitarashi Enko, which greatly embarrassed Sasuke every time she appeared. For official meetings with other heads, there was a traditional kimono, and for everyday life the girl chose comfortable dark blue knee-length breeches, a black turtleneck, and a dark blue vest with the Uchiha name on the back. The clothes emphasized smooth, golden tan skin, deep blue eyes sparkling with merriment, and a golden, thick braid that reached to the knees. Nara Shikamaru. The genius died first. Akimichi Choji. The fat man bowed. Nice to meet Sasuke's friends. Naruto also bowed to them, respectfully and at the same time, simply. The guys relaxed when they realized that the head of the clan was not against their presence. And they looked at Sasuke approvingly, even a little enviously. And he felt a feeling of pride appearing in his chest. It was pushing his ribs like a balloon, trying to escape with laughter. This is his big sister. Okay, I won't bother you. The girl smiled. If you need anything, I'm upstairs in my office. Oh yes. There are different flavors of ice cream in the refrigerator. Choose the one you like. I don't advise you to eat everything, because tomorrow you will be assigned to teams and talk with mentors, and with a cold throat this is very difficult. But for moral damage, I can offer homemade fudge. Judging by Akimichi's sparkling eyes, Choji already loved Sasuke's sister. Shika nudged the Uchiha in the side with his elbow, meaningfully, looking at his comrade with pressure, distracting him from joy. Sasuke cleared his throat. Sister, he called out to Naruto, who had already turned around. She looked at him, raising her eyebrows questioningly. Could you talk to Shikamaru's mother so that she will allow him to spend the night with us? Naruto glanced at her watch. Sasuke blushed embarrassedly. It's 8:30, not quite late, but now, because of his indecisiveness, his sister will have to listen to the tirades of the worried elder Nara. Shikamaru also understood this, and he also looked a little ashamed. But Naruto smiled calmly. Then I'll go away for a while. Can you handle the ice cream without me? Yes. Choji nodded, not noticing the glances of his comrades. Well, that's nice. Naruto patted Sasuke's hair. And she pulled her ear painfully. But next time it's better to warn in advance. At least me. Got it, sister. Uchiha Jr. beamed. Naruto shook her head and walked away. Dash. Team number 7 Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno. Captain Hitaki Kakashi. Got it, Ino. I'll be with Sasuke. The guy did not pay attention to the joy of Sakura sitting next to her, who was sticking her tongue out at her rival friend. He raised his hand. Iruka-sensei, shouldn't there be 3 people in a team? The others were also puzzled, even the sleepy Nara raised his heavy head. Akimichi, after a hearty meal at the Uchiha house, also did not crunch on chips. Naruto gave him several servings of homemade ice cream with her, making a promise that he would eat them very carefully so as not to get sick. Therefore, for the most part, he hovered somewhere in the clouds, anticipating returning home to the coveted sweetness. Your third partner will come with your mentor, said Iruka-sensei, wincing with displeasure. And he continued reading out the list further. Sasuke raised his eyebrows in surprise. I wonder who this partner will be. Do they know him? The others had long since left the class along with their teachers, but Kakashi Hitaki was 2 hours late. Sasuke climbed onto the windowsill with his legs and fenced himself off from the flickering Sakura with a book. She scolded the jonin with all her might, constantly demanding consent from Sasuke. She pestered him with questions about what he liked from food, from clothes, and what he didn't like. What kind of girls does he like? Sasuke begged Hitaki Kakashi to hurry up. The constant flashing of pink hair, albeit on the periphery, gave me a headache. The Sharingan made it impossible not to notice any movement, especially right under his nose. And Sasuke was also terribly curious to know what their third partner looked like. Fortunately, he had known the copy shinobi for a very long time, even when the Sharingan awakened. Naruto brought him in as a teacher. I must say, Hitaki taught him for free, only for the Uchiha's delicious cooking. But this did say something. Finally, the jounin showed up. Sakura immediately broke into a smile. "Hello, Kakashi-sensei." The jounin's only visible eye looked sadly at the girl. "Hello?" Sasuke put down his book and jumped off the windowsill. "Hello, unknown girl." Itachi nodded. "Hello, Sasuke. Let's go, let's get acquainted." They went up to one of the observation platforms. The guys settled down on the steps, and the jounin sat down on the iron fence. "Well, tell me something about yourself," he asked. "Tell?" Sakura was surprised and closed her eyes. "Tell me what exactly? What you like, what you don't like, what you're passionate about, what you dream about," Itachi said in a bored tone, casually winking at the student. Sasuke hid his smile behind his folded hands. He knew very well how irritating Itachi Kakashi's manner of communication was, how lazy he could be at times. Can give odds to Shikamaru. But if you kick him in the right direction, as Naruto constantly did, blackmailing and bribing him with food and joint training, then he showed himself as a true professional. "Maybe you can give us an example, teacher?" Sakura tried to outwit him. Well, not a bad try, if there was someone else in the place of the copier. "My name is Itachi Kakashi. What I love doesn't matter, what I don't like doesn't matter either. What I dream about is none of your business. And I have a lot of favorite activities, oh so many," he drawled almost dreamily. Oh yes, Naruto had taken this orange-covered favorite activity away from him more than once. Itachi briefly, unnoticed by Sakura, showed his fist to the amused Uchiha. And he rolled his eyes. "Well, what else can you expect from raising Naruto? It turns out he didn't tell us anything except his name," Sakura whispered. Then she straightened up and cleared her throat. "I'll start first. My name is Sakura Haruno. What I love, or rather who," an eloquent glance towards Sasuke and a blush on his cheeks. "My favorite pastime, blush even more." Sasuke was aware of her favorite activity. Barely escaped scrutiny. "It's good to live in a clan quarter, protected by a barrier." "I dream about." An enthusiastic squeak, Sakura shrank from embarrassment. Itachi looked at Sasuke with sympathy. And he thought almost with pity about himself, who received such a command. "What don't you like?" He interrupted the squeak. "Ino," Sakura snapped. The jounin sighed. "Now you, Sasuke." Sakura nodded, eagerly awaiting information about her idol. "My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I have many favorite things, but fewer disliked ones. I believe that love, like hatred, does not need loud words, only actions. I also have many hobbies." Itachi nodded in acceptance. Then he raised his head, listening to something. "Oh, here is our third team member." A tall figure of a girl with a long golden braid appeared at the entrance to the observation deck. Sasuke couldn't believe his eyes. His sister didn't tell him anything. And at the same time he was glad that he would be on the same team with her, that they would spend more time together. Naruto smiled. "I apologize for being late, Datebeo. I got lost along the road of life," she sang, walking onto the platform and sitting down on the steps next to Sasuke. She ruffled his hair. "Don't pout, I wanted to surprise you." Sasuke chuckled in response, but no longer displeased. Sakura became gloomy. Her gaze slid over the toned, trained body, clearly expensive clothes. The girl noted large blue eyes and delicate facial features. Not a beauty, but interesting and lively. She knew her worth and skillfully emphasized her own merits. And even the scars on her cheeks complemented her fox-like image. Sakura bit her lip. Next to the new girl, I immediately remembered all the childhood fears and shortcomings for which she was teased. And a large forehead, and poisonous pink hair that stood out among the crowd. She was never present at classes at the academy, at least Sakura did not see her there. Appearing for the first time, she immediately attracted everyone's attention. Both Sasuke and the mentor were glad to see her. Kakashi smiled, which was visible even through the mask. "Will you tell us about yourself?" The girl turned to him and threw her thick braid behind her back. Sakura gritted her teeth. Well, is it really necessary to demonstrate your advantages to everyone so openly? Haruno herself could not grow her hair beyond the length that she already had. They split and forked at the tips. Even the healing chakra that my mother used did not help. Of course. She nodded. My name is Uchiha Naruto. I love one person. Her smile became sad. And Sakura realized that something was wrong here. Sasuke took the hand of his relative. He squeezed her fingers, supporting her. Even Kakashi-sensei looked with pity. Naruto, meanwhile, continued. I hate wars, betrayal, and conspiracies. Now she was squeezing Sasuke's fingers. Then she turned to him with a smile. My goal is to wean Sasuke from eating only tomatoes for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Sister! Uchiha Jr. yelled indignantly, blushing from ear to ear. Hatake coughed, holding back his laughter. Well, yes, Naruto agreed. I haven't succeeded yet. But I will work on it, she said optimistically. Sister! Sasuke groaned, hiding his burning face in his hands. Kakashi laughed. And Naruto winked cheerfully at Sakura. This is how the members of Team Number 7 met. Kakashi-sensei is late again. Sakura pouted slowly, one by one, tearing out blades of grass. And neither does Naruto. Where do they go? Naruto is the head of the clan. She has her own responsibilities that she cannot neglect. The Uchiha said instructively, distracted from the theory of first aid. The sister insisted that he update his knowledge and expand it a little. After all, their team will not always fight weeds in customers' gardens. And, despite her busy schedule, she found time to make him the weights he had dreamed of for so long. Sasuke ran his hands over the whirlpool mark on the thick fabric. Despite her current surname, Naruto always had seals like Uzumaki. For purely practical reasons, in modern times, things with the symbolism of the whirlpool were much more expensive if the creator could confirm his involvement in the Lost Village. Naruto could. The weights Naruto made were bracelets 4 fingers wide that clipped onto belts. A small load inside, and special seals applied on top, made it possible to independently regulate the level of load. And there was no need to sew new ones every time. The weight increased with the development of physical fitness. I apologize for being late. Naruto appeared in a clearing under a tree. She nodded to Sakura and ruffled Sasuke's hair. Well, at least you were only an hour late. Haruno sighed. Kakashi-sensei is still not here. There was no way to be angry with the Uchiha. Naruto was Sasuke's sister, the wife of his older brother, and therefore, could not possibly be a rival for his attention. Plus, she was weird. She didn't show off her superiority, didn't tease or offend. She always carried out the task just like them. She pulled weeds, looked for missing cats, and looked after the children. No, it was absolutely impossible to be angry with her. But it turned out to be envious. Because she is whole. It doesn't. Sakura didn't know what word to use. Naruto was self-sufficient and confident. And she was not at all like the Uchiha that Sakura had seen before. And also this melancholy in the eyes, appearing when Naruto thought that no one was seeing her. Skillfully hidden at ordinary times. Kakashi-san, she always called her mentor that way, at his personal request, is now undergoing another examination at the hospital. After a recent serious mission, the Iranians forbade him from putting stress on his chakra channels and hearth. So we won't have training for another couple of weeks, at least. The Uchiha enlightened them with a smile. That's why we'll wander around the gardens. But how can that be? Sakura raised a pitiful glance at her teammates. At least he told me the theory. Sasuke remained silent, but also looked at his sister with interest. She winced. Kakashi-san hates theory, prefers practice to it. She suddenly flashed her eyes slyly. Why don't we practice on our own in that case? Sasuke nodded approvingly. And Sakura drooped. She didn't want to admit it, but despite her excellent chakra control, her reserve itself was extremely small. Sakura? Naruto asked in surprise. Nothing. She muttered and turned away, her ears turning purple in embarrassment. The Uchiha smiled knowingly. Sakura, look at me. The girl lifted her chin defiantly. Naruto smiled. It doesn't matter how big your reserve is. The only thing that matters is how you use it. And if you don't have a talent for Genjutsu, like me, for example, you can always study other disciplines. I'm sure you'll succeed with Irajutsu and Taijutsu, and with substitution techniques and throwing weapons you can get out of very difficult situations. The main thing is to want it. You want to become a strong kunoichi, right? Sakura nodded. How does Naruto know all this? It's like he's reading minds. Sasuke and I are security forces, fighters, and the team simply needs a medic with fine control of chakra. True, Sakura. Sasuke nodded. The last words outweighed everything. Sakura nodded decisively. Then let's start with physical form. The former Uzumaki closed her eyes happily. When Kakashi tumbled out of the Shunshin onto the training ground an hour later, he was met by a dusty, dirty, shabby, but very happy team. Naruto drove everyone until they were blue in the face, sparing no effort. And she herself joined them. Kakashi-sensei, you're late! Sakura raised her head and immediately dropped it back to the ground. She lay with her arms outstretched and had not the slightest desire to get up. Kakashi-san, did something happen? Asked the Uchiha, a white-toothed smile sparkling on her dusty face. The Jonin shrugged his shoulders nervously and looked around. From somewhere in the distance, active cries about rivalry and the cracking of bushes could be heard. Kakashi turned his gaze to Naruto. Cover me! He almost begged. I can't stand another rivalry now. And what I get for this? The Uchiha narrowed her eyes slyly. What do you want? Almost doomed. Cut the time you are late in half. The girl demanded. Well, really, Kakashi-san, as much as possible. Even I arrive early. Kakashi wanted to bargain, but the screams were getting closer and closer, and the man nodded curtly. Agree! And disappeared into the Shunshin. The next moment, the green beast of Konoha fell into the clearing in the company of his charges. Good afternoon, Gai-san! Naruto greeted him, standing up. Her teammates followed her with groans. Even Sasuke, who already seemed accustomed to his sister's methods of work, winced slightly. Sakura was in prostration, trying to gather her arms and legs into a pile. Hello, Tenten! The girl waved her hand. Good afternoon, Naruto! Might Guy beamed. His team tried to maintain a proud appearance and catch their breath at the same time. Only a smaller copy of Guy managed to maintain his flourishing state. He was literally glowing with enthusiasm. Just like his teacher. I see you are training. I am glad that the power of youth is seething within you. And this is my team. Rock Lee nodded at the copy. Hyuga Niji. And you already know Tenten. By the way, he looked around. Have you seen my eternal rival Kakashi? He should have come here. He's gone, Naruto said, throwing up her hands. He came to us for a minute to say that he was urgently called to the hospital for repeated tests. Sakura lied without blinking an eye. Communication with the Uchiha clearly affected her. She had already calculated the benefits of Naruto's condition to the sensei. He said that he would not be free until the evening. Sasuke chuckled approvingly. Naruto nodded. We were just going to have a snack before training further. Maybe you'll join us? With pleasure. Might Guy beamed. The girl took out a small blanket from the seals, a bento for everyone, and green tea in a thermos. Itachi taught her to drink green tea. Before that, the girl thought that the drink tasted like brewed, steamed broom. Her husband showed her how wrong she was. The main thing is to be able to prepare it correctly, observing all time restrictions and requirements. And he taught this to Naruto. While the others were arranging plates and sorting out chopsticks, he and Sakura went to a small stream that flowed nearby to wash, freshen up, and put their clothes in order. Naruto. Sakura called out to the girl when she was about to return to the others. The Uchiha turned around. Haruna looked at the ground, nervously fiddling with the hem of her dress. Do you really think that I can become as strong as Sasuke or Ino? That's right, Before that she failed in Kakashi's test, falling into a light genjutsu. Then during training she could not show the excellent physical shape that Sasuke could boast of. But he trained from early childhood, unlike Sakura. Haruno couldn't talk to anyone, Kakashi was a mentor, Sasuke was a loved one, in front of whom she didn't want to look weak. But Naruto is still a girl. Yes. Naruto nodded. I'm sure of it. Not all shinobi are strong and have great reserves. And those who cannot take it by force take it with cunning, dexterity, and knowledge. The main thing is to train. Well, since we are a team, we must also become stronger together. You're too perfect. Haruno narrowed her eyes, shaking her head. Too kind, too soft, too much of everything. Naruto laughed lightly. Sakura, I am the head of the clan. I can't always be kind and gentle. I have to make serious decisions. I just said what I really think about you. I have no habit of lying and being a hypocrite. Sakura nodded. They slowly walked towards the company remaining in the clearing. But have you never wanted more? After all, with your knowledge, you could have passed your exams ahead of schedule and received a vest long ago. It was clear to the naked eye that the senior Uchiha's level was significantly higher than the Genin's. But for some reason she remained on the team and spent time leading the gardens. Sakura did not understand this, but did not dare to ask questions until she realized that from the Uchiha in Naruto there was only clan pride and a surname. And no snobbery or arrogance or superiority. For what? The Uchiha shrugged. Actually, it's very simple, Sakura. I have what I want. And I want what I have. No more, no less. For complete happiness, only a little is missing, but I am sure that one day I will have it. Definitely. She spoke with such faith, such conviction that it was impossible not to support her. For now, I just want to spend more time next to Sasuke, to see how he becomes a shinobi. And I want a good team for my brother, real comrades in arms who do not consider each other an imposed burden. As in a mechanism, one depends on the other, one reinforces the other. Bunch. And are you really going to teach us? Sakura bowed her head. 2 weeks. Then Kakashi-san will take us seriously. Believe me, he has excellent mentoring abilities if you kick him in time and in the right direction. But the girl remained silent about this. They sat down on a free piece of blanket. Bon appetit. Naruto wished the others. The company started eating. Peace, tranquility, this is how one could describe the atmosphere in the clearing. No one was in a hurry, and even the overly active Rock Lee leisurely sipped his tea in small sips, periodically popping a chocolate bar with nuts into his mouth and talking about the benefits of glucose for muscles. Naruto supported him when she told him briefly in simple words about the cycle of decay and formation of energy in the body and how much of it is consumed daily during the training of a genin-level shinobi. Therefore, any diet is initially a losing option. An actively training shinobi simply does not need this. Even the imperturbable Hyuga Niji listened with interest. Mizuki has been arrested. Mike Guy calmly stated in the small gap that had formed. It means he's finally made up his mind. Naruto noted, lowering her eyelashes and taking a sip of tea. I didn't want to believe it until recently. The Jonin shook his head. They were following him. It was decided, Gai-san. The Uchiha shrugged. The Genins looked from one to the other. For the first time they saw images that were not those that had been created for the village. In front of them sat a strong Jonin, the best in taijutsu, and the head of an ancient, even now powerful clan, who knew much more than the rest. Naruto smiled and the feeling disappeared. Guy also chuckled and held out the cup for another portion of tea. He raised his eyebrows when he noticed the weights on Sasuke's wrists. Oh, where did you buy them? I did it myself. Can I have a look? The Uchiha nodded, took off one of the ribbons and handed it to the Jounin. He just sniffed her and clicked his tongue in admiration. His eyes lit up as he looked at Naruto. Can you do the same for my team? They are regulated, am I right? Yes, Gai-san, you're right. Naruto nodded. You can gradually increase weight in them, depending on your physical fitness. Well, Tenten snorted. Now you'll compete with our shop in this too. So that's why you don't come to us? Naruto was cheerfully surprised. I can't support my grandfather's competitors, the girl proclaimed, feigning indignation. So you don't want to see the twin battle tests that Ryusan brought from the last mission? The Uchiha narrowed her eyes. I did not say that. Tenten responded immediately. Takahashi themselves did not notice how they found themselves under the warm wing of the Uchiha. In their shop, the clan sold only those weapons whose capabilities they knew for sure. But on missions they came across interesting specimens, sometimes very ancient ones. We needed someone who would do research and test such weapons. And Naruto was seduced by the opening possibilities of Toshi-san. The old man did not want to work for any clan, but the chance to study rare types of weapons outweighed him. Moreover, the clan took only 20% of the sale and did not demand money every month, like the others. So Tenten often began to drop into the Uchiha shop. Well, what will you do? Guy enticed the girl with his eyes burning with the power of youth. Yes. Naruto rubbed her forehead, remembering. It seems that the suitable material in the required quantity should have been available in the armory. So far, the waiting initiative has been an experiment. They were just planning to introduce them, to include them in the list of products in their store. I will need to take measurements, find out the sizes. And what weight do you plan to be maximum for each? Guy actively whispered in her ear, pointing his finger at each student. Tenten looked like a person who had come to terms with everything a long time ago. But Niji looked warily, clearly expecting a trick. And only Lee glowed with enthusiasm. Naruto looked at them and wondered. They will serve as free advertising for its clan gunsmiths. When it came to Lee's numbers, the girl thought she had misheard. She asked again, Might nodded actively, saying something about the power of youth, which would help Lee. The student with burning eyes echoed the teacher. Gai-san, aren't you, too, zealous? Naruto asked uncertainly. We have the power of youth. There was no point in arguing. And Naruto agreed. And what is the respected head of the Uchiha clan doing in the stash of a simple gunsmith? The master asked sarcastically, raising an eyebrow, looking at the protruding butt of the mentioned clan head. Naruto, puffing with zeal, threw her braid away from her reddened face and again excitedly rattled the contents of the heavy box. I need materials for weights, she said. Look in the second one from the right. Have you really found anyone else willing to buy them? The master asked in surprise. Yeah. Naruto nodded happily, already rummaging through the indicated box. With a cry of victory, she found the metal and straightened up. Our advertisement will be Hyuga Niji, Rock Lee and Tenten. How did you manage to get Hyuga into your ranks, Sly Fox? The old man narrowed his eyes. Only he called Naruto that. And only in private. In front of everyone, the master gunsmith showed amazing respect for the head of the clan. But not in a private conversation. Naruto grinned. My guy was sent to me by Kami, Shinigami, heaven and the power of youth. The old man laughed contentedly. Naruto went home satisfied, carrying in her seal material for future weights. On the way, Sasuke caught up with her. Where had you been? The girl looked at her brother with interest. I ran to show off to Choji and Shikamaru. He showed his wrists. Naruto raised an eyebrow questioningly. Usually Sasuke didn't show such emotions, and even so clearly. First of all, they are my friends. Sasuke smiled at the corners of his lips. And secondly, almost all shinobi in the village take into account the opinions of the geniuses of Nara, even if they don't say it out loud. And if they purchase custom-made weapons from us. Naruto only hugged her brother's shoulders to convey to him her sense of pride. Albeit little by little, but he begins to reason like a real head of the clan. In the morning, Naruto was woken up by Might Guy rushing in early. He was jumping up and down with impatience, and Rock Lee's eyes were sparkling just as happily behind him. Tenten and Niji were not visible, but this is understandable. Normal people, not overflowing with the power of youth, are still sleeping. Good morning. Naruto yawned heartbreakingly. And it seemed to confuse the shinobi a little. So she smiled, opening the door slightly. Please come in, sit down in the kitchen. Now I'll make some tea and bring weights. I just managed to finish a game for your whole team yesterday. She brewed and poured the fragrant drink and went into her office. A half-asleep Sasuke poked his head out of the bedroom. Naruto made a sign that he could sleep a little more. The sleepy brother was the embodiment of tenderness, and the girl was glad that his fans did not see Sasuke like that. Here, please. She laid out strips with weights in front of Guy. Activate them here, adjust the balance here. She showed the seals how they need to be filled with chakra. Amazing! Lee couldn't resist, he jumped up on the spot, almost doing a back somersault. They are much smaller than mine. And they weigh the same. He weighed one strip in his palm. Naruto looked at the Jonin doubtfully again. Guy-san, are you sure about this amount of workload? Still, this is a bit much for one person. Lee can handle it. Mike confidently waved it off, beaming. Exactly. Lee nodded. The power of youth will help me. Well, let Kami. Naruto sighed and helped fasten the weights on her legs. Lee spun around, not believing his own eyes. The stripes were invisible. Naruto deliberately made them a little darker than the guy's usual suit. And they took up much less space, attracting virtually no attention. Naruto, how much will it cost? Might ask the burning question. Naruto smiled. A lot, Guy-san. You will have to, the shinobi tensed. The girl saw in her eyes and bitten lip that Lee was ready to burst into tears, but not part with the new toy. Boys. Give me the old weight. She continued in a mysterious whisper. Suitable as a consumable. He's yours. Guy immediately tried to unload a considerable weight into the girl's arms. The Uchiha gasped and quickly put it on the table. It wasn't enough to strain myself yet. Lee is a real hero for carrying this around every day. I advise you to quickly show Niji's new clothes. The girl smiled. She's not the only one who has to suffer early in the morning. Actually, every activity can be a great workout, Naruto said animatedly. Niji's sour expression, whom she met when she was going to Sakura's house to pick her up for training, significantly lifted her mood. The Uchiha have always disliked the Hyuga. At the time of the founding of Konoha, the Byakugan was not so widespread, and their clan was not the strongest and very small in number. But over time this changed. Unlike the Sharingan, the Byakugan dominated almost any genetic combination, and the Hyuga clan grew, gradually pushing aside the Uchiha clan. Naruto had his reasons for not liking the White-Eyed clan. It's not even a matter of dislike, but they just annoyed her. Two stony faces, two traditional speeches. They think too much of themselves. And they want even more. Naruto, when the required period of mourning had passed, received a very unequivocal letter with a proposal to form a Hyuga party, from a side branch. This would mean that her children, who would have a rather large reserve, would be subordinate to the main branch all their lives. And they lived under the threat of brain frying through a subjugating seal. Oh yes, Itachi enlightened her well in his time about the secrets of the Byakugan clan. Then she could hardly restrain herself from burning the letter to hell and destroying the Hyuga residence, calling Kurama for help. That one, by the way, was all 13 limbs in favor. She managed to restrain herself. And even send an eloquent, polite refusal. And then the Uchiha clan began to revive, regaining its former power. Hyuga Sr. realized who he had insulted and how. Neither of them mentioned it, but both remembered. And to annoy the Hyuga, even in a small way, to stir up at least one of them became a sacred task for Naruto. It's a pity that Hinata never got around to it. The girl had enormous potential. Under her leadership, the clan would flourish. For example, bend down behind every weed. She was distracted from her thoughts. Or sit down near each plant. There may be different options. Let's start, perhaps, with bending. Under the scorching sun, they bent over and squatted. Sakura quietly complained that all her muscles hurt terribly in the evening. And I was happy about the same thing, because it meant their hard work and improvement. She also said that she signed up for the preliminary medical ninja course. Inexpensive, well within the means of a genin with weekly missions. So far, only theory, memorization of the basics, repetition of biology, expansion of knowledge. But the beginning has already been made anyway. And Sakura spoke with delight about the structure of a shinobi's body, the patterns of its chakra flows, tenketsu, and so on. Moreover, when she turned off the Sasuke-kun style, the girl was an excellent conversationalist, an interesting storyteller. The whole team laughed at her stories of daily life in the hospital. In the evening they went home, tired and well dusted. Naruto suggested that Sakura visit their clan hot spring, but the girl refused. She and her parents agreed to go visit someone, so she only had time for a short shower and changing clothes. They agreed to move the sources to the next time, and even Sasuke did not exude rejection. Naruto smiled to herself. It was not so easy to talk to Haruno, to turn her thoughts in the right direction, but in the end it was worth it. Her brother began to see in her not only an annoying girl, but also a teammate. And Sakura, behind the light of the idol from the Uchiha clan, saw a shinobi, a genin. A couple of Konoha's main deer, Nara Sr. and Jr., were already waiting for them at the house. "Good evening." They bowed ceremoniously. Nara Sr. spoke. "My respects to the head of the Uchiha clan." "Sasuke-kun." He nodded. "Good evening." They responded in kind. "My respects to the head of the Nara clan." "Shikamaru-kun. Please come in and settle down. If you don't mind, I'll clean myself up. Give me a couple of minutes." She led the visitors into the living room, sent a clone to prepare them tea with cookies and sweets, and she flew up to the second floor and immediately jumped into the shower. Sasuke wisely brought a change of clothes and began to wait his turn. They descended together 10 minutes later. Naruto wore her hair in a simple braid and wore a blue dress. I ran it along the sides, smoothing out the wrinkles. The same one she wore when Itachi lived here. He liked what he saw. That's what my husband said. Shikamaru and his father sat obediently on the sofa, drinking the offered tea. Naruto was once again amazed at their similarity. How strong does one have to have a genome to convey the slightest facial features like that? "I apologize for the wait, Shikaku-san." She sat down on the sofa opposite. "My brother and I just returned from a mission." "I understand." Head Nara nodded. "We came to you on business, Naruto-san." Despite the fact that Naruto was much younger than the man, they were equal in social status. And now he was addressing not the genin girl, but the head of the Uchiha clan. Equal. Another thing she liked about Konoha's chief analyst was that he didn't like long speeches. I preferred to get straight to the point. Some thought it was impatience, others considered it business acumen. But after meeting Shikamaru, Sasuke and Naruto realized, it's all about laziness, which is clearly transmitted genetically. "I am listening to you." "I would like to agree on a batch of weights for the children of my clan," Nara said, scanning with his eyes, analyzing the girl's every movement. Naruto didn't give him the opportunity to draw conclusions. The perfect Uchiha mask. "She has mastered this art perfectly." Life forced me. "Certainly. I will need the number, size, and volume of loads that you want to introduce to each future owner." The Uchiha knew how to read between the lines. It was not just about children. The Nara clan didn't have that many of them now. This means he wants to train adults too. In addition, these tapes could accommodate not only standard load seals, but also spatial pockets, small containers for medicines or poisons. Everything depends only on the desire of the buyer. And Nara knew this very well. That's why I came in person, so that no one would guess that the request was non-standard. Naruto smiled at the corners of her lips. Life was definitely getting better. Come in on the right. And you are behind. He shouldn't leave. Gotcha. A friendly, choral cry filled the surroundings of a small grove in Konoha village. This time the traditional test of all genin in the village fell to team number 7. Suspiciously smart creature. Sakura winced, touching the swollen scratches on her arm, inflicted by a well-aimed paw with long claws. I can't even believe that we've been running after him since the morning. In a small cage sealed with fuens, sat a well-fed cat with dark fur and wild, yellow eyes that promised terrible revenge on the offenders. Tora, the cat of the daimyo's wife, and also a headache for all genin. The animal had an amazing desire for freedom and constantly ran away from its owner. And at the same time he had the intelligence of a seasoned jonin. I don't understand why catch him at all if he always returns home for dinner anyway. Sasuke frowned when his sister made him turn his head. Thora's claws ran across his face, grazing his cheek. Okay, casually, not seriously. Naruto held her brother's chin tightly, healing the damage along the way. Don't freak out, Sasuke, she asked, removing the scratches. Sakura, you're next. Okay. The girl offered her hand, relieved. Thank you, Naruto. You're welcome. The Uchiha smiled, erasing her wounds as well. The capture of Tora is a kind of test for the genin team to see if they are ready for serious missions. And also training in working with walkie-talkies. She pointed to the device in her ear. So we will be given a serious task of a higher rank? Sakura's eyes lit up. Sasuke, although he didn't show it, was also inspired. Anything can happen, Naruto said evasively, shrugging. But first we need to return Toru. Kakashi, who had previously instructed them over communications, appeared as if out of thin air. Who will carry him? The genin looked at each other, looked at the angry cat and grimaced in the same way. There were few people willing. Kakashi had to carry it. And all this time the cat kept trying to stretch his paw through the bars of the cage and give the shinobi a good tug with his claws. The jonin had to be careful and keep the burden at arm's length. You didn't notice, Sakura whispered, glancing sideways at her mentor, that during the hunt Tora was aiming mainly at Kakashi-sensei. I wanted to scratch him. And only when he disappeared did he switch to us. Naruto chuckled to herself. You can't deny the girl's powers of observation. As soon as Sakura's endless craving for Sasuke was turned off, good analytical abilities woke up. Not Nara, of course, but for a future Iraianin it's very, very good. No surprise, Sasuke snorted. Kakashi-sensei has a call ninja dogs. Most likely, he communicated with one of them recently. To be more precise, Pakken sent me yesterday, Naruto clarified. Cats can't stand dogs. The smallest Uchiha concluded triumphantly. Sakura thought and frowned. Iruka-sensei told them about the call when they passed 3 Sanins and the 4th Hokage. But she didn't even suspect that her mentor also had such an animal. But a call is a very rare thing, she finally said. Who could Kakashi-sensei get it from? From one of the Sanins? You don't always need someone. Naruto shook her head. Sometimes it is enough to use the reverse summoning seal, and you will be thrown into the world that suits you best. But in this case you need to be prepared for any troubles. There is a possibility of not returning at all. In this sense, contracts handed over by someone are much safer. She looked at the back of the man walking in front. She was not going to reveal Kakashi's secret or talk about his father. In the Hokage's reception room, they were duly rewarded with Tora's torment. The owner squeezed and squashed him so hard that tears appeared in the animal's eyes. And Naruto even sympathized with him a little. Slightly. Their next task turned out to be escort. A gray-haired, tan old man with a sloppy beard and slightly crooked glasses. He was constantly sipping on a bottle of sake, and his shirt was soaked with sweat from his armpits and throat. Are these little ones going to protect me? He hiccuped. Sakura couldn't help but winced. Sasuke and Naruto kept their faces. Yes, our team. Kakashi smiled affably as always. The old man took another sip from the bottle. My name is Tazuna, an architect from the Land of Waves. I am building a bridge there. And I hope you will keep me safe, even at the cost of your own life. We'll try. Kakashi's calm smile again. And you can't understand what a jounin is really thinking about. And it's not just the half-face mask, his very aura. His movements did not give out any information. Sakura ran home immediately, going around the customer in a wide arc. The smell of alcohol was painfully strong. Naruto moved with her Shunshin brother. Good technique, no doubt. Sister? Sasuke, as always, sensed her anxiety and looked questioningly at Naruto. She smiled, a little tensely. Go pack your things, we don't have much time. In half an hour we should meet the others at the gate. Sasuke nodded and ran away. Itachi devoted more than one lesson to what things to take with him on missions of different durations. And Naruto passed on this knowledge to her brother, adding a lesson from herself on how to optimally use sealing scrolls during gatherings. The girl went into the office. Naruto-sama? Ryuyu-san appeared immediately, as if he had read the head's thoughts. However, most likely, the bodyguards told him that the Uchiha were going outside of Konoha. Ryuyu-san, what do we know about Nami? Naruto drummed her fingers on the table. This architect. Tazuna. He didn't look like a drinker, more like a person trying to forget something, not think about something important. He was nervous and tried to hide it behind rude words, to drown his anxiety in sake. Although this did not reduce the overall harmfulness of his character. Basically, the Uchiha squad carried out missions outside the village, tasks of other entrepreneurs, so Naruto tried to collect information about all the countries where their troubles could take them. Or she gave such instructions to her intelligence officers. A tedious, difficult task, but she would rather be called paranoid than lose someone. Gato, the head of the detachment, answered calmly. The land of waves is separated from the rest by a wide strait. All transport is controlled by a man named Gato. He owns all the ships in that area. The rich, even the very rich, do not hesitate to use dirty methods. The country itself is very poor, peasants and artisans live there, but not warriors. Which also allows Gato to control them. If the bridge is built, it will hit the entrepreneur's wallet hard. That's it, Naruto said thoughtfully. It's clear. Thus, the mission immediately increased to rank A, and the genin could not be entrusted with it. But Tazuna, most likely, simply did not have enough money to hire adult shinobi. So he deliberately lowered the rank of the operation. The shadow clone dissipated, conveying the information that the backpack was fully assembled and we could leave. The girl had a choice. She could betray the architect now, thereby depriving him of Konoha's support. Or she could have remained silent, endangering not only herself, but the entire squad, including Sasuke. Naruto-sama, what are your orders? Ryuyu-san patiently awaited the decision of the clan head. Select a person, let him run to Nami, find out who exactly Gato hired to eliminate the architect. Let it remain invisible to others when transmitting information. I don't need Sasuke to think that I doubt him. Naruto smiled slightly. They don't care whether sooner or later they will have to perform difficult tasks. They can't spend their entire lives running around the gardens of Konoha. The sooner they understand the essence of the shinobi profession, the better. Kakashi, Naruto will be with them, and Sasuke is superior in level to an ordinary genin. She tried her best to make it so. They will cope in any case, people in Nami need help. But information and possible support will not be superfluous. Got it. The shinobi bowed and disappeared. The door swung open, revealing Sasuke with a backpack and a short sword in his belt. Naruto smiled, patted her brother's hair, and looked at him carefully. No white pants, which he loved as a child, inconspicuous dark blue clothes made of good, expensive fabric, with the clan sign on the back. Comfortable shoes, slightly different from standard shinobi boots. Although such equipment may be a little more expensive, it is much more comfortable. She nodded. Naruto herself twisted her braid into a knot at the back of her head and hid her noticeable hair under a dark scarf. And an excellent remedy for the heat. We can go. The architect was already waiting for them near the gate. Sakura in her usual crimson dress. She narrowed her eyes, examining the dark clothes of the approaching Uchiha, and probably realized that this was not just about clan traditions. Naruto was sure that Sakura would also show up for her next mission in something more inconspicuous. In the meantime, let him learn by doing. Still, the academy had to teach a course on camouflage. On the way, Sakura, as always driven by a thirst for knowledge, tortured Kakashi and the architect about the land of waves. Sasuke also listened to know about the area where they were going. Naruto followed the conversation out of the corner of her ear. She couldn't help but feel that things weren't that simple. that they might encounter serious opponents. And I was terribly worried about Sasuke. But she couldn't keep him under her wing all her life either. The Uchiha needs a strong leader, a head who can stand up not only for himself, but for the entire clan. A mama's boy in this situation, a little brother, definitely won't turn out like that. It was incredibly hot, and the sun was blazing hot. The girl was glad that she had thought to wear a scarf with some seals. Naruto! Sasuke lightly moved his chin towards the side of the road. There a small puddle glistened in the rays of the sun. It hasn't rained for 2 days. Naruto nodded in acceptance. She quickly moved to Sakura and told her the same thing. To her credit, Haruno quickly approached the architect, spoke to him as if by chance, and began asking about his family and work. Her hand lay on her pouch. The girl herself was constantly wincing from the strong smell of alcohol. The ninja suddenly jumped out of the puddle when the team had already passed this section of the road. The chain whistled and Kakashi was cut into pieces. Sakura screamed as she pulled out a kunai. Naruto and Sasuke arched their eyebrows in the same motion, looking at each other. Did they think there should be a lot more blood in such a situation? Sasuke nailed the chain to the trunk of a nearby tree with shuriken and kunai, preventing the opponents from moving normally. Naruto knocked out one, the second was finished off by Kakashi, who appeared. All together the Konokovites stared suspiciously at the architect, but remained silent. Their task is to bring him to the land of waves. Yes, and arranging a showdown here and now is a stupid thing to do. You need to move as far as possible from the attack site so as not to attract attention. Who knows, maybe these two have support. There was no support. And the detachment safely reached the bay. They agreed to transport them by boat after dark, so that Gato's assistants would not discover the architect ahead of time. As dusk approached, Naruto left the house where they were allowed to rest. The sunset was slowly fading on the horizon. The scarlet rays of the sun were giving way to bluish darkness. A fog, thick, milky white, like milk, was creeping up to the shore along the water. The girl went into a grove nearby and made sure that she could not be seen from the house. She nodded. A shinobi dressed in clothes with the Uchiha sign on his back immediately dropped down in front of her, knelt down, looking down at the ground. Naruto-sama, he said quietly. You're fast. The girl was surprised. What did you find out? Gato doesn't hide too much. All his mercenaries are talked about in almost every house, the subordinate reported. He hired the Bloody Demon, a dangerous assassin. One of the 7 swordsmen of the mist, Momochi Zabuza. The rest of his army are simple thugs who take over not with knowledge and experience, but with force. Thank you. Naruto nodded. You can go home. Sorry, Naruto-sama, but I have an order from Ryo-san to accompany you on your first mission. The shinobi was ready to drill the ground with his gaze from zeal. You are the head of the clan, not an ordinary genin. Is that why you think I can't stand up for myself? Naruto asked with a dangerous intonation. Although she was more tormented by curiosity about what her subordinate would answer to this than by real offense or something like that. It was not for nothing that she drove her squad, participated in their training. The fighters had heard a lot about her strength. Therefore, we believe that you should not suffer and return to Konoha safe and sound, just like Sasuke-kun, the shinobi said insistently. If you wish, you can punish me for insubordination after completing the task. Naruto rolled her eyes. You will punish such a one, of course. As they say, they will still continue to do things their way. And their care brought pleasure to the girl who grew up in an orphanage. No one had ever been so worried about her. Are you alone here? With a partner. The Uchiha sighed and lightly rubbed the bridge of her nose. You can accompany me, but don't let me see you. Quieter than water, below the grass. Yes. The squad member disappeared into the darkness. It's hard for you, came a voice from behind. Naruto grinned, but didn't even turn around. Kakashi had not hidden his chakra from the very beginning, so she knew of his presence. Don't talk, Kakashi-san. She turned to him and smiled. The shinobi chuckled and became serious. What do you know? Shipowner Gato dreams of killing the architect since this bridge will damage his budget. We will be confronted by Momochi Zabuza. Bloody demon of the mist, Kakashi said with a sigh. Mama, how problematic this is. Naruto laughed softly. You do it and it's not half as tragic as the Nara family. Kakashi chuckled cheerfully. You refuse to support the squad. Are you going to put Sasuke in danger? I still can't constantly run after him and take care of him. Naruto shrugged. He is already a shinobi, he must understand all the realities of a fighter's life. Even if he has to get into trouble. I will try to make sure that these lessons do not have a fatal outcome. When complete darkness set in, they boarded the boat and were taken to Nami. We had to swim in dense, thick fog, in which nothing was visible a meter away. The boatman did not start the engine so as not to attract undue attention. Kakashi, simply out of spite and vindictiveness, forced the architect to tell the whole truth and intimidated him a little, doubting, hesitating whether to go further, and playing on financial opportunities. It was not the first time for the Jounin himself to deal with such customers, but he could not forgive the danger to the squad. My grandson will cry. Tazuna had tears in his eyes. He will call me, and I will no longer be able to come to his aid. And the daughter will curse the Hidden Leaf Shinobi for not saving her father. They will be forever disappointed in life. More curse, less curse, Sasuke muttered. No difference. He had heard his sister cursed more than once. Like a Jinchuriki, like a demon. And the fact that she became the head of the clan could not stop people. It only made the whispers behind my back quieter. Naruto ruffled her brother's unruly locks of hair. Don't worry, we won't leave you in trouble. Kakashi smiled. Sakura snorted. To her, the performance put on by the old man seemed forced and very embarrassing. The girl turned away, plunged her hand into the water and began to look into the fog. Naruto sat on the bow of the boat, stretched out her legs and closed her eyes. Sasuke immediately settled down next to her, resting his head on his sister's lap. Are you a couple? Tazuna was curious, to whom no one told the full names of the shinobi, not even themselves. Sasuke chuckled, Sakura blushed, Naruto opened one eye. I'm his older sister. She flicked her brother on the nose. His brother's wife. Wife? Tazuna shuddered and stared at the girl. How old are you? Sakura giggled. Her mature appearance as a teammate was also misleading. A lot, date Bayo. Naruto smiled and closed her eyes again, indicating that the conversation was over. By morning they had already reached the shore. The boatman said that he would not sail further, and they would have to walk. He started the engine and swam away. Kakashi, Naruto, and Sasuke sighed resignedly. They would have to forget about stealth. And why then was it necessary to row here manually, if anyway the man gave them away at the end? Halfway there, Kakashi made a sign to stop. The squad froze, the genin immediately grouped around the architect. Sakura took out a kunai, Sasuke and Naruto took out short swords. Naruto felt rather than actually saw or heard the danger. And she pulled Tazuna down. Where he had just stood, at the level of the old man's head, a huge sword flew past and plunged into the tree. A very familiar sword. A gray-skinned man with a bandage covering half his face jumped onto him. I wonder how things worked out between him and Haku? Copy Ninja Kakashi, he drawled predatorily. Well, we need to know who the old man managed to hire. And, his eyes widened a little when he saw Naruto. The girl nodded briefly to him. Wife of the heir to the Uchiha clan. Although, I heard you became the head of the clan, Naruto. Uzumaki. Did I really interest you so much that you decided to find out more about me, Zabuza? The girl chuckled, also switching to you. I'm flattered. Naruto, do you know him? Kakashi did not turn around, still tense, ready to attack at any moment. Sasuke glanced questioningly. We crossed paths, the girl answered briefly, activating some of the moan of the wind seals. Oh yes, Zabuza chuckled. And I won, Naruto finished off. It was an unfair fight in advance. Do you really demand from all your opponents that they move to a field convenient for you? Give me the old man. Zabuza got down to business. And none of you will die. None of us will die in any case, Kakashi snapped. Zabuza shrugged his shoulders, made seals. The space, despite the sunny, clear weather, was filled with a thick fog, permeated with a bright, saturated chakra of death. Chakra from Zabuza himself. What is this? Sakura's voice trembled, as did the hand holding the kunai, but the girl did not lower the weapon. Well done. One of the techniques of the swordsman of the village of Mist, Kakashi explained, removing the blindfold from his eye. In it, on a red background, 3 black commas were spinning. Sasuke sighed a little enviously. He only had the second stage of Sharingan. Naruto, can you do something about the fog? Asked the Jonin. I'll try. The girl nodded. Kakashi easily recognized the water clone and managed to put the blade to the throat of a real swordsman. He pushed the enemy away and forced him to hide in the water. This was the copier's mistake. The water was also saturated with Zabuza's chakra, and after making seals, he immersed the Jonin in the water prison technique. Naruto cursed. Nothing worked. Not a single seal of hers was capable of dispelling Zabuza's fog, and in it the swordsman had a significant advantage. This means that the last option remained, the most dangerous and troublesome. Overpower the amount of chakra invested in the technique, suppress it, rudely and mercilessly. The girl put her hand to her stomach. Kurama, she whispered quietly. The fox rolled his eyes and growled contentedly. And one of his tails broke free. An orange flame, fierce, indomitable, saturated with pain, fear, hatred and anger, such powerful feelings that they burned and suppressed the will. Sakura trembled. Sasuke, more accustomed to such antics from his sister, only turned pale. Before this, Naruto tried not to show her brother why she was called the demon of Konoha. The fog cleared, blown to shreds by the Kyuubi's chakra, which immediately disappeared without a trace. And Naruto mentally cursed herself with the last words for not being able to dispel the technique, not being able to overcome it on her own, and having to resort to the help of the fox. But she can't count on him all the time. This journey will be a good lesson for you too, Vessel, Kurama snorted. You still have a lot to learn. I know. Naruto nodded decisively. Sister, who are you talking to? Sasuke whispered, tracking his opponent's movements out of the corner of his eye. The street became lighter again, and the sun appeared. The real Zabuza had his hand in the water ball in which Kakashi was sitting. A water clone stood in front of them, ready to defend the original. Naruto, grab Tazuna and the guys and run! Kakashi shouted. No! The Uchiha simply shrugged. I will not leave my comrade in trouble. You must complete the task, save Sakura and Sasuke. The Jounin tried to convince her. Momochi grinned predatorily, although it was practically invisible behind the bandages. But the way his eyes sparkled spoke volumes. Listen to smart advice, head of the Uchiha clan. He chuckled. Give up the old man, and you will live. So is your team. No. A simple smile. I do not give up. Never and never. Sasuke. Understood. The brother rushed forward, taking fishing line from his pockets, his favorite weapon. Zabuza's clone dodged the attack of the guy who jumped from above, but when he tried to grab him by the throat, Sasuke suddenly changed his flight path and was thrown back as if on springs. At this time, Naruto took a deep breath and made the necessary seals. Wind Blade, a simple but effective technique. She cut the clone into pieces and Zabuza had to jump away to avoid being hit by the chaotic attack. And released the prison from control. Kakashi fell into the water and came out wet and angry, like an Ayakashi. Naruto swallowed. Oh, and she would get it for disobeying the orders of the squad leader. Sasuke was nearby reeling in the fishing line, returning to guard Tazuna. Battle with the Sharingan. Before this, Naruto had only seen something like this in Sasuke and Kakashi's training. Itachi never showed her his fighting techniques. Shursui also constantly disappeared on missions. It was amazing. She and Zabuza formed the seals in the same way, harmoniously, like reflections unlike each other. 2 water dragons soared into the sky, intertwined, writhing like snakes, and rushed towards the enemy. They collided, crashed, falling on the shinobi like a waterfall. Kakashi and Zabuza switched places and raised their arms up. Again surprisingly synchronized. Simultaneously. And this was the mistake of the swordsman of the mist. He knew about the copying properties of the Sharingan, and thought that Kakashi was simply repeating after him. But it was not for nothing that the Jounin mastered several elements. No one said he didn't know water techniques. Kakashi was ahead of Zabuza by only a split second, and the swordsman was washed away by the whirlpool, spun and hit a tree with all his might. Then the Nukanin's eyes widened and he fell to the ground like a bag. Senbons were stuck into the neck. The appearance of the Oinin saved Zabuza from death at the hands of Kakashi. Haku has changed, he has become older, more mature, but his voice. Naruto caught familiar notes. And she felt that the eyes behind the mask were turned to her. Will it give out or not? Didn't give it away. She allowed me to take the body with me. And she caught Kakashi, who had collapsed without strength, in her arms. She still had to bring the commander to his senses. Naruto closed her eyes as she sat on a narrow log near the wall of Tazuna's house. The transplanted dojutsu cannot be turned off, unless, of course, you are from the Uchiha clan. Only they could use all the capabilities of the Sharingan. And after each mission, Kakashi spent a long time in the hospital, getting rid of the consequences of overwork and using someone else's dojutsu. And now Naruto diagnosed him with overwork and weakness. A long stay without oxygen in the water prison also took its toll, but all these consequences are easy to get rid of. The girl poured him a couple of potions of her own making and pumped him full of medical chakra. The master also taught her how to convert her ordinary energy into medical energy, since some antidotes required just such an effect. She was currently resting in the sun. And she wondered why she allowed Haku to leave and didn't give him away. It's probably all about intuition. There was something wrong with this couple. They didn't look like Gato's usual thugs. Even during their last meeting, Naruto realized that they had their own code of honor, concepts of rules. She didn't want to kill them specifically. Something is fundamentally wrong with her. She's not a normal shinobi. Or, on the contrary, he is too normal, since he feels sorry for the enemy and thinks about the reasons that forced him to take the dark path. Sister? Sasuke appeared from around the corner. Naruto glanced at him briefly and closed her eyes again. She hadn't spoken to her brother since they brought Kakashi to Tazuna's house. I wanted to remain in the dark a little longer, to create the illusion that everything was fine. How will her brother treat her now that he knows what's inside her? She showed only a small part of the Bija's feelings, the rage that engulfs him at times. There is more of it inside, much more. Sasuke sat down next to him, snuggling like a kitten looking for affection. You are my sister, he said quietly. I love you. Despite everything. Maybe it's not so bad after all? How did you meet Zabuza? And there's something wrong with this Oinin, right? Sasuke narrowed his eyes. Yes, you can't deny your brother's intelligence and intelligence. He simply doesn't have enough information to make the right conclusions. That's what I would like to know. Kakashi and Sakura appeared from around the corner. Kakashi-san, are you awake yet? How are you? Naruto looked at the Jounin with alarm. He waved it off. Fine. Thanks for the help. So what's wrong with this Oinin? I think you already guessed it yourself. Naruto noted shrewdly. Zabuza is alive. What? Sakura jumped. How alive? Kakashi began to explain, and Sasuke, as if by chance, pressed closer to his sister. Neither he nor Kakashi focused on the first part of the conversation, about meeting the swordsman of the mist. Naruto looked gratefully at Kakashi, who nodded curtly. They had known each other for several years, and the Jounin understood perfectly well that if it were really important, Naruto would not hide anything. Of the entire team, only Sakura did not yet possess the ability to walk on absolutely all surfaces with the help of chakra. Kakashi decided to correct this omission. He set Sasuke to show a clear example, explained the theory himself, and Naruto was released to collect medicinal herbs and catch someone for dinner. Due to the prices of transport from Gato, his taxes and bandits, hunger and devastation reigned in the country. There were practically no goods in the stores, and those that were available were incredibly expensive. And the vegetables looked very starved. Therefore, Shinobi hunted for a living, since the forests were full of birds. It may not be the fattest prey, but it's still fresh, juicy meat. Naruto had just knocked down a few birdies when she felt someone's presence behind her. The next moment, her clone, standing guard, put a blade to the throat of a pretty girl with long brown hair. This girl had an Adam's apple. Naruto nodded to herself. As she had predicted earlier, Haku grew up to be a very handsome young man, so much so that he could easily be mistaken for the fair sex. Thank you? It sounded ceremonious. Haku bowed. For not giving it away, Naruto. The girl put the bird carcasses into a basket, among the herbs, and placed it on the ground. Why did you contact Gato? She asked a question that worried her. We killed too many. Haku plucked a blade of grass, began fiddling with it with his fingers, twisting it into a ring. And they attracted unwanted attention. We are being hunted. Working for Gato is an excellent opportunity not only to get money, but also to escape the attention of the Oinins. They will not look among the little things that work for the shipowner. By the way, did you take my advice? She asked with a smile. Haku nodded, blushing with embarrassment. Zabuza-sen will never admit it, but you were right, he cares about me. Not like weapons. And he even listens, especially if you back up your words with Samban. The shinobi squinted. Naruto giggled. He became my mentor, comrade. Haku looked at the sky. And I want his dreams to come true. I will help him in whatever he orders me to do. Whatever you ask, I will do. I understand. Naruto nodded. They really turned out to be good guys, just as she felt. This made me want to fight them even less. But you don't have a chance against the copy ninja and 2 Uchihas. She shook her head. We still have to fight, Haku said quietly. And we will try to win. So do we, Naruto said confidently. Doom, hopelessness. She remembered Haku's story then, in the master's basement, over a late-night dinner. Even then he considered himself just a weapon. And this is how all owners of the improved genome were treated in the fog. As well as to her. Jinchuriki are also the weapons of the village. They will still need to fight. Naruto was late. She had no doubt that Gato could use dirty tricks. Therefore, just in case, she left a shadow clone next to the architect's relatives. And halfway there I received information from him. 2 henchmen kidnapped Tazuna's daughter and grandson in order to blackmail him and prevent him from finishing the bridge. I had to return, fight off the victims, revive the woman and calm the child. The boy cried. He could not believe that there would be someone capable of resisting the shipowner's army. His hope died along with his father, who was not afraid to confront Gato. And he died for the truth. His hope was revived with the Konoha shinobi who saved his mother and were about to defeat Gato. And let the bridge be completed. She was late. When Naruto rushed to the bridge, the battle was in full swing. Haku imprisoned Sasuke in a dome of ice mirrors. Moving technique. The shinobi jumped from mirror to mirror and accurately hit the target inside with Samban. So far, only thanks to Sasuke's Sharingan he managed to remain more or less unharmed. He tried to pierce the technique with a fireball, but nothing happened. Only small cracks appeared on the mirrors. Things were going much better for Kakashi. So far he had managed to hold off the swordsman's pressure. Fog floated across the bridge again, and 3 Tomo began to spin in Kakashi's left eye. Sakura stood next to Tazuna, holding a kunai with a trembling hand. The first thing Naruto did was rush towards her. A thick fog hid all her actions, and a small barrier prevented Zabuza's chakra from penetrating inside and finding out what she was up to. A quick addition of seals, and Tazuna went to the world of dreams. Another barrier, thin, weak, just a cover, reliably hid the architect from outsiders. The barrier passed chakra through itself as if it were not there, but was quite capable of repelling several attacks. The architect's place was replaced by a shadow clone under the henge. Sakura nodded understandingly and returned to her position. It was as if nothing had happened. Zabuza fought with Kakashi. To be honest, he had no time for the goal, otherwise the girl would hardly have been able to pull off what she had in mind. Sasuke. The brother held up well, confused the enemy, reflected the ninja's Senban, and Naruto was glad that she ordered an excellent blade for her brother in time and personally stamped it, applied slightly different seals than on all the other Uchiha weapons. Sasuke knew about the capabilities of his blade. Naruto walked up to the ice dome, quickly made seals and placed her hand on one of the mirrors. Pain pierced her palms, the eyes scorching with flame, but she maintained contact. The air vibrated around, and the mirrors began to crack, and then exploded, showering everything around with shards of ice. Naruto barely had time to shield her face and dodge most of the projectiles. I didn't foresee that you might have the element of wind, Haku drawled. Naruto, meanwhile, helped her brother up. Sasuke was covered in Senban like a hedgehog. Or a cactus. Nothing, no vital points are affected, and she can heal the rest. Out of the corner of her eye, Naruto saw Haku's quick movements. He made the seals, and ice daggers immediately flew at them. The girl barely managed to push her brother out of the affected area. She straightened up and pulled the fragment out of her leg. Kurama had already set to work, healing the damage. His grumbling in the background was surprisingly calming. Needless to say, Haku threw Senban amazingly quickly, but he was far from Itachi. Naruto did not have time to deflect only a couple of needles from the entire mass. They dug painfully into the body, but the girl endured. It's okay, he'll survive. You're fast, Haku remarked. Haku, you mustn't lose, Zabuza growled. They collided. It was Naruto's first time participating in a duel in which her life was at stake. Haku was fast, very fast. He also knew how to make seals with one hand. She could only counter him with the moan of the wind and her own stamina. His ice blades danced, whistling in the air, and the Uchiha parried them with his ninjutsu, quickly, almost silently. They rushed all over the bridge. Glancingly, Naruto noted how Kakashi began to form his summoning seals. Well, now Pakken will get complaints too. Everything happened in a matter of seconds. Haku rushed forward, Naruto towards. The ice blade pierced the liver with pain, hitting it exactly in its center. The ninja dug into the enemy's side. They stood face to face, pinned to each other's weapons like butterflies on pins. Sister! Sasuke jumped up, headed towards her, and grabbed his head. His eyes, 3 tomoe, were already burning in them. Don't come near! Naruto coughed. Waves of burning pain radiated from the blade in his side and spread throughout his body. She did not let go of Haku, holding him with seals spreading from the wound throughout the enemy's body. What is this? Haku looked in surprise at the scarlet network that colored his body. Shinobi killer. The former Uzumaki grinned. The seal at the hilt of the sword glowed with a scarlet flicker. When a certain seal is activated, the ninja draws out the enemy's chakra and prevents the wound from regenerating, expanding it. But this requires such physical contact. She took a shaky breath. The fox inside no longer even hinted. He shouted about the need for treatment. Sister. After so many years of raising the former Uzumaki, living with her, the younger Uchiha became the owner of remarkable stubbornness, which Naruto also called obstinacy. Come on, be careful. He began to push Haku's blade in the opposite direction, while simultaneously popping a couple of pills into his sister's mouth. Naruto looked into the glowing red eyes. How are you? There's a lot of information. My eyes are burning, but I'll survive, Sasuke reported laconically, finally freeing his older relative. Kurama immediately began healing, while promising to call the most severe punishments, and training on the head of the careless carrier. And even ban eating ramen for a whole month. The last threat scared me the most, Chidori sang from the side. Zabuza, held by Kakashi's assorted dogs, could not move. And he just watched as the Jounin approached him with a bunch of lightning in his hands. Let me go, Haku wheezed. I have to save Zabuza-san. Who will save you? Naruto snapped, but let go of the blade. Sasuke nodded, indicating that he had attached the fishing line. They managed not to pull Haku out from under the blow, but to move him so that the blow went tangentially. And Kakashi himself got his bearings in time and took Chidori to the side. But this was enough for the opponents to be thoroughly shaken by a powerful discharge of electricity. And Gato and his henchmen arrived at the wrong time, very wrong time. Zabuza couldn't move his arms and Haku was breathing heavily. The shinobi killer was still operating. Naruto still did not remove the sword from his body, she just let go of the hilt. The entrepreneur saw a picture of exhausted, blood-covered, tired shinobi and an architect, who was obscured by a short girl in a scarlet dress. He grinned disgustingly. I wasn't going to pay you, he enlightened Zabuza. On the contrary, your masked friends from other villages are simply eager to communicate with you, so I kindly told them the coordinates of your next shelter. And even kicked the lying Haku. He did it in vain, in vain. Zabuza asked Naruto for a kunai, she threw it to him. The swordsman easily caught it with his sharp teeth and rushed forward into the very crowd, chasing Gato. With a sigh, Naruto sank down next to the still-living Haku, cancelled the effect of the seal and took up the treatment. Zabuza won and killed Gato. The henchmen, already frightened by the behavior of the Demon of the Mist, did not expect that two representatives of the Uchiha clan, armed to the teeth, would appear on the bridge. The ninja silently stood on either side of the clan head, drawing their blades. Zabuza bared his teeth, swaying like a tree in a strong wind. Voices were heard behind them. Naruto smiled involuntarily. People, inspired by Tazuna's grandson, went to fight with pitchforks, axes, and hoes. Not God knows what, but there were a lot of them. And the peasants were also very determined. Naruto nodded to her men. One picked up Zabuza, the other picked up Haku, and both headed towards the village, towards Tazuna's house. They accompanied us all the way? Asked Sasuke. Yes. Naruto nodded and began to pull out the senbons one by one from her brother's body. It didn't suit him to be a hedgehog, it didn't suit him. And she tried not to notice how the tension that had gripped her was releasing, as soon as she saw her brother in a trap. But what's next will be worse, much worse. Then why didn't they help us from the very beginning? Asked the Uchiha. Naruto flicked him on the nose. Because this is our mission, and only we must fulfill it. This was the first and last time, there will be no more safety net during missions. Sasuke narrowed his eyes mockingly. Do you think you can convince Ryuya-san of this? Naruto winced, imagining this conversation in advance. I will try. Nerd. But you now have a full-fledged Sharingan, Naruto said, throwing up his hands. That's what I'm saying, boring. Sasuke smiled cheerfully. Zabuza and Haku managed to be revived and treated. Sakura helped with theory, Naruto with practice. Together they pumped them up with medical chakra, patched up the damage and serious wounds, although they hinted that it would be better to see professional doctors. Zabuza easily agreed. Judging by Haku's intense gaze, this will be watched. In general, after the battle on the bridge, the boy became much more confident in himself. Zabuza killed Gato not only for deception, but also for daring to offend his partner. Actions spoke louder than any words. According to the official version, the bloody demon Momochi Zabuza died in a battle with the copy ninja. His partner was killed by Kakashi's students. The two of them are buried on a small hill near the new bridge. Naruto immediately bargained for Zabuza's sword as the best proof that the new Knin was truly dead. The swordsman laughed, but agreed. I told you, the Uchiha don't deserve you. He said goodbye. Thank you. The last word was spoken with all sincerity. The next moment he had already disappeared into the thicket of the forest. Haku bowed briefly and followed his mentor. Kakashi looked at the bridge, at his team. Tazuna is going to name the bridge after you, Naruto. He chuckled. In my opinion, this is the best recognition that our mission has been successfully completed. The girl grabbed the sword more comfortably. It would be possible to seal it in a scroll, but she could not part with the new toy yet. The team looked at all this with a slight grin. They were all pleased that the task ended relatively well. That Zabuza and Haku, even though they were apostates, were still good people and shinobi, survived and managed to escape. That Gato is dead, and now no one will stop him from finishing the bridge. And the country of waves will prosper. But it still won't hurt to knock out Ranka for this. Naruto nodded decisively. The others looked at each other cheerfully. Rank A is a good addition to the Genin's track record. A darkened room with closed windows, smooth walls, where there were no niches in which guards or spies could hide. The censors drove everyone who wanted to listen in at a decent distance, although even this was not a guarantee that someone's all-seeing eye would not penetrate the clan council hall for the next meeting. Its reason was the holding of the Chunin exam in Konoha, a serious event that falls heavily on the shoulders of the owners. Teams from small neighboring villages arrived along with their mentors. Logically, they could be not only allies, but also enemies. The head of Suna was arriving, relations with whom had stopped at the level of armed neutrality. But at any moment, from the slightest push, the conflict could flare up with renewed vigor. Konoha allowed all guests behind its protective barrier, the most powerful among all the hidden villages, since it was erected by the Uzumakis. An ideal opportunity for sabotage from within the village. All guests needed to be accommodated, their comfort taken care of, and the presence of guides around the unfamiliar village. And also assign observers who would prevent the emergence of conflicts that could lead to dire consequences and a diplomatic scandal. Suna will not hesitate to use any excuse to bring down Konoha's reputation. During the preparation, the village turned into an anxious hive. Houses were hastily erected, dormitories were cleaned, and cosmetic repairs were carried out. There was also a lot of bureaucratic red tape with clearances and lists of teams, with the approval of security lists for both external and internal periods. At such a moment, Konoha was at its most vulnerable. All missions, except the most difficult and important ones, were urgently completed, and the shinobi returned to the village. Internal security among civilians and the resolution of minor conflicts was handled, as always, by the police, who had regained their strength and their positions, reinforced during the exam by a group of fresh jounins. The Chunin were loaded into the Hokage residence, sorting out papers, sorting missions, which ones could be postponed and which ones needed to be completed immediately, no matter what. The situation was most tense. External security was handled by ANBU, Root under the leadership of Danzo, and free jounins from those who did not prepare their teams for the exam. At the moment, the heads were intensively deciding how many people they could allocate without compromising the safety of the clan territories and their own families. The Hokage understood perfectly well that the blow could be directed not only at all of Konoha, but also at some of its units. For example, owners of an improved genome. And he allowed the clans to distribute human resources themselves, of course, if this did not harm the security of the village. The atmosphere gradually thickened, becoming increasingly dark and gloomy as the Hokage and the head of Root were present. Both were representatives of ancient clans and had the right to vote in the council. And the unspoken rulers of the village. This was not discussed, but all real power in Konoha was concentrated in the hands of two men. Sarutobi is the real leader, but Danzo's unit, the ANBU Root, was not far behind in power. Danzo had been accumulating rare genomes and talents for many years, and trained his warriors to be loyal only to him alone. Everyone who needed to know knew about it. And they were silent, but they took it into account when making decisions. Naruto remembered the first time she was at the council, how much effort it took for her to withstand everyone's pressure and not give up her position. Don't let your own clan and your pride be crushed. She managed. With her head held high, she walked through Konoha to the clan quarter. And she slid down the wall without strength, as soon as the thin door slammed shut. She cried quietly, silently, so that no one could hear. Because I felt unworthy, like a little girl aiming for too big a piece. She just wanted to protect what was precious. This too has passed. Now she was an equal among equals. She had proven that she was worthy of being called the head of the Uchiha clan. Although Madara is probably in a coffin like a spindle, it is unlikely that he counted on such a future for his clan. Naruto chuckled mentally, but outwardly remained emotionless and calm. She expressed her position at the very beginning and had no intention of backing down. Her people will not patrol the outer borders, as there are already too few of them to protect the clan quarter and the civilians in and around it. Her clan does not have two branches, one of which is subordinate to the other, and she does not have numerous subordinates. And she simply cannot leave enterprises and women, the elderly and children who will remain at home during the exam without protection. Not everyone will get to the final stage, only those who can buy a rather expensive ticket. Hyuga Hayashi, slowly, without raising his voice, without deviating one step from etiquette, tried to defend as many clan specialists with the Byakugan as possible. The events of many years ago, when his twin brother was killed, became a painful lesson for the head of the clan. It seemed to Naruto that only now her eyes were opening to the whole ins and outs of the village, to its secrets, and secrets that others could not know, but the heads of families and clans simply had to know. Better not to know. About someone else's pain. About other people's victims. So as not to remember your own. The head of the Hyuga clan did not give up, but everyone already understood that the Hokage had made a decision and was not going to change it. Naruto caught the slightly amused glance of Tsuminazuka, the mother of Sasuke's classmate and the head of the dog-loving clan. A strong-willed, self-confident woman with slightly predatory facial features, animal eyes and slightly animal habits. She even spoke of people as if they were her beloved dogs. And she communicated friendly with Itachi Kakashi, which spoke in her favor. For Naruto, at least. She gave off a feeling of support, a kind of protective care, not evil, but not kind either. Neutral, like Nara. Itachi himself was not at the meeting, although he was the only surviving representative of his clan. He himself refused the role of heir. It reminded him of his father's act, how he committed suicide, leaving the child to be torn apart by rumors and gossip. There were only 3 women on the council, including Naruto. The third was a short, quiet, petite brunette from the Iburi clan. Invisible, like the smoke into which she turned. They were found by Tenzo, still a teenager, when he worked with Itachi in ANBU. He led them to Konoha, where they were allowed to occupy the catacombs on the outskirts of the village. The meeting ended in favor of the Hokage. The heads of the clans began to disperse. Someone disappeared into the Shunshin, and someone walked around Konoha, as Naruto always did. Hyuga walked out with an independent air, but the Uchiha could feel his anger and the serious planning going on in his head. He was already wondering what to do with the new order of the head of the village. Okay, she wasn't too affected. The Uchiha were already responsible for internal security and preparation for evacuation, just in case. Naruto-san. Nara Sr. approached her softly, imperceptibly. May I accompany you? Of course, Shikaku-san. The girl bowed, smiling at the corners of her lips. Thank you. I wonder what the man is going to talk to her about. The main thing is that there is already an excuse. Sasuke invited his friends to celebrate their participation in the exam and passing the selection tests, where they had fun chasing the Konoha Chunin underhenge throughout the village. Naruto personally went to Irika-sensei. So now he, Choji and Shikamaru are having fun at the Uchiha's house. Good guys and great comrades. Perhaps they will become great friends in the future. At least that's what Naruto was counting on. Sasuke needs someone besides her to cling to this world. Even more attachments that will protect him from mistakes. Or they will allow you to endure them firmly. There was no tension around Shikaku, which happens when a person is preparing for a serious conversation. The genius had already calculated everything for himself a long time ago, so he saw no point in worrying again. Sometimes it seemed that the Nara clan became geniuses precisely in order to be able to be lazy as much as their hearts desired. After all the reasons for hassle that ordinary people had, Nara brushed aside without hesitation. At such a late hour, Konoha fell silent. Talkative women, noisy merchants and children disappeared from the streets as darkness fell. Only drinking establishments and some convenience stores remained open. Peace and carefree life reigned everywhere. It was felt everywhere, spreading in the cool air along with the smell of dust and magnolias heated by the daytime sun. And it ascended to the very heavens, where the first, still timid, stars were already shining. On days like these, it's wonderful to lie in the grass and look at the constellations. Nara sighed almost dreamily, but his gaze remained sharp. Another ritual phrase in their conversation. Silently he asked for consent to a long, private conversation. Or sit on the veranda, play shogi and drink hot tea. And listen to the cicadas sing. Naruto noted, adjusting the sleeve of her turtleneck. Permission has been received. Then they walked in silence, turning towards the Nara clan quarter. Shikaka led the girl behind the barrier, to his family's mansion. 10 minutes later they were sitting on the veranda of the house, separated by a shogi board, glasses of green tea steaming at their sides. Shikaka was busily arranging his pieces. Naruto sat down with her legs tucked under her. I was secretly glad that I could come to meetings in casual clothes, showing only the monks of my family. The rest generally came in jonin and chunin vests. They didn't have to prove anything or turn important meetings into an etiquette farce. There were also traditionally correct tea parties, which from time to time were arranged between the heads of clans and families. Naruto winced to herself. She was also invited. For such occasions she reopened the main Uchiha mansion, in which no one wanted to settle after the death of Fugaku and Mikoto. Fortunately, such events took place extremely rarely, only when the clans needed something from the Uchihas, and Naruto could not help but invite them. In revenge. But all the same, my teeth were aching from the mysterious, vague hints and statements. And also from measured tapping of the whisk on the edges of the cup. She wanted to fall asleep and sleep through the entire ceremony, but she had no right. This is not why Ryusan trained her for a long time. Even though Naruto wasn't a great shogi player, she had a complete lack of logic on her side. Unpredictable moves with unclear goals more than once confused even such a genius as Nara. Which is why he didn't always win. The girl saw the anticipation in the eyes of her interlocutor and smiled at the corners of her lips. With a slight thud, the first pentagon made its move. The boys were sleeping. The lights were on in the living room, and the boys were sleeping, lounging on futons brought into one room. Naruto smiled. Polite, kind boys, the guys did not leave any trash, they put all the dishes in the sink. Around them lay scattered shogi tablets, scrolls with techniques and descriptions of the previous exam, books on tactics, camouflage and theory, because everyone knew that the first stage was testing knowledge and learned material. The girl quietly walked inside, carefully avoiding the traps, and silently collected the books. She covered the snoring fat man Choji and adjusted Shikamaru's pillow. The genius opened his sleepy eyes and had difficulty focusing on Naruto's face. Shikamaru, don't leave tomorrow, wait for me. The Uchiha asked quietly. Okay, Naruto-san. Nara yawned desperately and fell asleep again. We could only hope that tomorrow he would remember this conversation. Despite the fact that they were the same age, the title of head of the clan and older sister did not allow them to call the Uchiha simply by their name. Which, to be honest, she sometimes regretted, but did not correct. Middle Link, that's what she sometimes called herself. Her brother's peers and clan heads treated her with respect, but for her Jonin friends she remained just Naruto, because they remembered her as a girl from the orphanage who dragged her comrades to the training grounds. The last one was Sasuke. Naruto's heart sank. The brother slept restlessly. On his forehead, between his eyebrows, there was an alarming fold. She smoothed it out with light touches of her fingers. Sasuke small. Not so small anymore. With any luck, after this exam he will become a chunin. He will receive the right to go on more complex missions and will lead his own group. She didn't even notice how time flew by. Naruto bit her lip. Sasuke stretched out. His face had completely lost its childish innocence, but had not yet acquired adult toughness. Smooth features, beautiful, precise, aristocratic. Black hair, thin and a little harsh, not at all like the heavy silk of Itachi's long locks. She probably just missed her husband. I'm tired of carrying everything alone. Naruto closed her eyes. She has no right to cry shamefully now, she must be strong. For the sake of my brother and beloved Itachi. Someone said that distance strengthens feelings. Thanks to it, love flares up stronger. Naruto. Naruto fell in love with Itachi, deeply, to the point of pain. And now, perhaps, I understood the father and mother, who were ready to die not only for their child, but also for their soulmate. How can you live if he is not around? If you're going crazy with worry. What about him? How is he? Is he still alive? Sometimes Naruto thought she would go crazy before this was all over. And she tried not to think about how many years might pass before Itachi was acquitted and he could return to the village. She was bored. All those countless days, sticky like molasses, sticky like tar. During the day she could be busy, but at night, in the empty marital bed, despair came in waves again, and the fears that she had talentedly washed during the day returned. She missed Itachi's presence, his strength, his soft voice. And short meetings in the world of summoning, there were too few of them, she did not have time to get enough. Naruto stroked Sasuke again, covered him with a blanket, and went up to her office. On the table, on top of all the papers, lay a large black pen. Invitation. The girl involuntarily smiled widely. Today she wanted Itachi to see her as his wife, and not an ally, the head of a clan, or the little girl she was at the time of their marriage. Everything in my stomach sank in anticipation of a new meeting when the Uchiha went to choose a dress. Itachi sat on a rock, looking at the stormy sea of the world of ravens, one leg pulled up to his chest. He leaned on it with his hand and looked thoughtfully into the distance. What was he thinking about? It was impossible to read his face. His service in Akatsuki made him an ideal player. His mask could not be split, nor could it be penetrated. He jumped down to meet his wife, and Naruto pressed herself to his chest, which was not covered in the hated black cloak with red clouds, so similar to a slave brand. She missed her, how she missed her! Itachi smelled of blood and iron, and also of the forest, and women's perfume. My heart sank and my eyes stung. Naruto bit her lip. She had no right to complain, she didn't, had. He is a strong, mature man who also needs release. For women, this is much easier. Naruto remained a virgin, and the desires that periodically tormented her were too vague and unformed to cause real discomfort. And she easily drove them away with training and meditation. But, Kami, how painful it is! They did not promise each other anything. Too much time had passed since their life together. They both changed, matured. Their marriage is just a duty imposed by a long-standing contract. But it still hurts. Calloused hands with rough skin lay on trembling shoulders, strong fingers began to knead the cramped muscles. And Naruto couldn't bring herself to raise her face and look into Itachi's eyes. It wouldn't be fair for him to understand the depth of her pain. And she won't get anything in return. Not fair. I love you. The quiet words poured cold water on the soul burning with anger, rage, and painful jealousy. Naruto opened her eyes, taking in her husband's face. She was jealous, insanely jealous of the lucky girl who had the chance to know his caresses, his tenderness or rudeness, his kisses and hugs. It's difficult for me to be away from you, he admitted, burying himself in the curve of his shoulder. Only now did Naruto notice that she had become taller. These simple words contained everything: his desire, recognition, his tossing when he could not choose. And wine. It felt bitter on the lips. Itachi hated to betray, this poison poisoned him. Therefore, he also could not look into his wife's eyes. Naruto felt ashamed. For your behavior. For your stupid thoughts. Even for my jealousy. Is she asking too much of Itachi? Spying on an enemy organization, killing people, constantly playing your role while being on edge. Help with advice to her and Sasuke, cover for Shisui along with the Uzumaki family. What else did he have to go through and experience? And what connects them, besides Sasuke and formal marriage? Nothing. Naruto frowned. It's time to fix this. If you become mine, I won't tolerate anyone else, she warned seriously, looking into the eyes of Itachi, who raised his head. But will our meetings be enough for you? And me? She exhaled, blushing. The second time she offered herself to her husband. And if he refuses again, this time she won't consider it a feat. Naruto hasn't yet figured out what kind of punishment she will use. But it's not a problem. Itachi grinned and opened his eyes wider, in which the Mangekyo pattern began to swirl. All his women. Naruto saw them. Blue-eyed blondes. Beautiful and not very beautiful. Itachi did not pay attention. Just 5. And 1 brunette, but in her place the man saw a blue-eyed blonde, with scars on her cheeks. It was probably an act of masochism incarnate, but Naruto was grateful to her husband for his understanding. She had to see what he was thinking. She had to receive confirmation of the sincerity of his feelings. And his madness. Now 1 for 2. With her bare back in the neckline of her dress, she felt the pebbles of the beach of the world of summoning. Smooth, round, gray, like everything around. Itachi loomed over her, pressing his body to the cool ground. Just pressing, but he was breathing as if he had been running for the last few hours, driven, abruptly. He ran his nose along the line of her neck and cheekbones, inhaling the scent of her hair. And I couldn't get enough of it. There was nothing left in him that was boyish and angular, nothing thin and flexible. Under Naruto's hands was the strong, well-built, trained body of a broad-shouldered man. She stroked her abs and went up to her collarbones. Smooth, velvety skin, with thin lines of scars. They didn't exist when Itachi lived in the village. Naruto noted with pain that one was almost under her heart. Just a little more, and she could rightfully be considered a widow. Probably sex on a rocky beach is not the best first time. But Naruto didn't remember that. All that was left for her was pleasure. Itachi Uchiha, her damn-blessed husband, too leisurely and thorough, studied her slowly, in detail, every part of her body. And Naruto was thrown from cold trembling into endless heat, as if his Kado was penetrating his body and spreading through his veins. It burned all over her skin, and she whimpered, whispering something with her bitten, dry lips, which the girl herself did not remember. She threw back her head, looking with crazy, unseeing eyes at the gray sky with torn silhouettes of clouds. Even this did not save her from the madness of pleasure. 1 for 2. The salty taste of his skin, his silken hair under her fingers and the damned Kado all over his body, driving her crazy, that's all that remains in her memories. And also flashes of stars before her eyes, when a shaft of fire penetrated her and melted her insides. It seems that she even cried with happiness and pleasure and bit Itachi's neck, hugging him to her. For the first time, she felt him, as part of herself. Necessary, inseparable. He melted with her. Naruto read this from her tense face, a little crazy, but open smile. And sparkling eyes, in which the Sharingan pattern blazed brightly. I love you. Naruto said goodbye in a hoarse, broken voice. Itachi hugged his wife and smiled into her worried eyes. No one else, he assured with an oath. And he chuckled. It seems that I was a little mistaken with the forecast about children at 20 years old. Naruto smiled at their old joke. In fact, she had a seal that did not allow her to become pregnant. There was this in Uzumaki medical techniques as well. So no reason to worry. Why would they need another child when their own fate is not determined? Maybe, indeed, by the time she was 20. Parting was more difficult than ever. But it is necessary. Naruto opened her eyes only at 10 o'clock. The body ached and moaned, but was definitely happy. Just like herself. The fox's regeneration had already removed all traces of the stormy night, but could not erase her vivid memories. Although, to be honest, Naruto would have preferred to keep some kind of material evidence that everything that happened was not a dream. Your Uchiha has all the necessary evidence, the fox muttered. And in response to bewilderment, who bit and scratched him? I also peeked. Naruto blushed, and the fox laughed inside, sincerely, fervently. This, apparently, is my fate. Don't worry, I also watched this first one's wife and your parents. They didn't worry too much. And I don't enjoy mating human females. What a harmful lump of chakra. Naruto shook her head. But how can you be angry with him, pray tell? The boys waited with discipline downstairs. Apparently, Shikamaru still remembered the conversation. Sasuke only raised his eyebrows in surprise at the radiant look of his older sister, but remained silent. Naruto volunteered to escort the boys to their homes. First Choji, and then Shikamaru. I must say, Sasuke's classmate behaved perfectly. He didn't even lift an eyebrow, as if this was exactly what they had agreed on, as if everything was going as usual. Shikaka asked her, as a specialist, to look at the barriers on the clan quarter, which is what Naruto planned to do. But still, at least some justification for her visits was required so that the Root's spies would not find out about absolutely everything. This is exactly what Naruto was hinting at. He didn't like Danzo, but tolerated him as long as he benefited the village. Although his experiments in collaboration with Orochimaru, the appropriation of talented fighters forced him to treat the head of the Root with caution and prepare for a strike at any moment. The example of the Uchiha clan was too revealing. Good afternoon, Shikaka-san. Good afternoon, Naruto-san. Thank you for bringing Shikamaru. Please come in. Kindness itself. Naruto smiled and walked through the gate. The barrier immediately collapsed behind her, cutting her off from the rest of the world. He will not allow the Root spies to see what the head of the Uchiha clan will do. Unless, of course, they have censors like Keiko Uzumaki. But this is unlikely. The replenishment of the Root was carefully monitored, although Danzo might have thought otherwise. The clans would never let such a threat out of their sight. Meanwhile her soul sang, "Today will definitely be a great day. Sister, hurry up." Sasuke impatiently stamped his foot, glancing at his watch every now and then. The first stage of the Chunin exam. We'll make it in time, Sasuke, don't worry. The girl responded from the bathroom. Shunshin, help us. After these words, the brother calmed down. Well, if Naruto promises to move with a Shunshin, then fine. Naruto came out wearing a dark blue knee-length straight dress with short sleeves. She did not braid her hair, but gathered it at the back of her head from ear to ear, a wide, skillful interweaving of shiny, light strands. Nothing vulgar or provocative, just refined, strict simplicity. This hairstyle made the girl look older, more mature, and revealed the Uchiha crest on her back. Sasuke himself limited himself to dark clothes, grinningly recalling the white shorts that Naruto first washed with quiet curses after each training session, and then simply threw away all the supplies and replaced them with dark pants. And she did the right thing. Now Sasuke understood this. Let's go. His sister grabbed him by the elbow and moved him to Sakura's house. She was already waiting, looking around impatiently. I was also worried about the exam. Naruto grabbed her too, so that in a couple of moments she was already standing at the building where the first stage was supposed to take place. Kakashi, surprisingly, was there waiting for them. Does everyone remember what I said? The team has the right to participate in the first exam only in its entirety. If one person refuses or gets scared, then everyone will not pass. You shouldn't be afraid. The Jounin looked briefly at Naruto with significance. She had difficulty keeping the mask on her face. Well, Kakashi, well, cunning. Mentors are not allowed to help teams, openly. But the copy guy found a way to get out of this too. For him, they became not just future subordinates, but comrades. And Naruto considered him her friend. Afraid. Kakashi insisted on this word. There was only one person in Konoha who could operate on fear. This means that it is he who will lead the first stage. And the conclusion naturally arises as to who will conduct the second one. Marino Ibiki and his constant assistant Mitarashi Anko. Konoha torture team. After wishing him good luck, Kakashi disappeared, as if he had never been there. Sasuke turned his thoughtful gaze to his sister. Is this what I'm thinking about? He asked distantly. Yeah. Naruto nodded cheerfully. Sakura looked blankly from one comrade to the other. The Uchiha took her hand and moved away the weight, which she gave to the girl as a gift. I took out a thin brush and quick-drying paint, which I used to create camp seals. If you feel scared in front of the examiner, look here. She wrote a few words on her wrist, let it dry and covered it with a bracelet. She looked carefully into the green, trusting eyes. But only then, not before. Sakura nodded. She had already learned to trust the Uchiha. Together they walked inside the building. Some genin were crowding around the door that presumably led to the office where the exam was to take place. The passage was blocked by large ninjas. They frightened the youth and did not allow them to pass. Guy's team had already intervened in the matter, but they were easily thrown aside, in the literal sense of the word. What will be the conclusions? Naruto asked. They had become close friends with Might Guy's team over the past years and often held joint training sessions. This was facilitated by the fact that the green beast of Konoha wanted to help his main rival quickly return to his former form after his next visit to the hospital. The power of youth was suffered collectively. Thanks to Sasuke's friendship with Shikamaru and Choji, a good relationship was established with Ino Shikacho. Although Princess Yamanaka and Sakura still snorted at times and turned away from each other like two wayward cats, they still did not refuse to communicate. Already good. Naruto liked to establish connections with future clan heirs, just like that, unobtrusively. This will be very useful to Sasuke in the future, when she retires. The opponents do not have the symbols of other villages, which means they are from Konoha. But Gai-sensei's team is strong and united. Ordinary genin cannot defeat them. Sakura learned to analyze and draw conclusions in classes with the Irenans. In medicine there is no way without this. So, we have at least Chunin in front of us. Under the hench, a scarlet reflection flashed in Sasuke's black eyes. Naruto smiled contentedly. She has a strong team, to be sure. Great job. The Uchiha nodded. And now the finishing touch. She took the team by the arms and boldly walked forward to the stairs leading to the third floor. Hello, Niji-kun, Lee Tenten. She greeted her comrades. Hello, Izumo-san and Kotetsu-san. She nodded to the enemy, Chunin. Obeying Sasuke's seals, the illusions flew away from the leaf shinobi. Naruto! The Katsumas, as they were called in the village, unanimously exclaimed indignantly. What's happened? The Uchiha raised an amused eyebrow. The ninja looked at each other and waved. It's useless, they concluded in unison. You won't be able to carry out a single test. The girl smiled, shrugged, and together with a team of rival comrades loaded with the power of youth, headed to the correct office. As she suspected, the atmosphere there became almost tense. In the back rows sat the genin of sound, the village created by Orochimaru. I wonder how they were even allowed in. Or is the Hokage carefully pretending that he does not know what his former student is doing after being expelled from Konoha? The Sonovites glared at everyone with gloomy looks. More precisely, only one was drilling, a red-haired and green-eyed guy with thick, black eyelashes that served as eyeliner for his almost transparent eyes. A poorly controlled wave of power emanated from him. Like the surf, it rose noisily, then fell with snow-white foam, leaving behind a hot aftertaste. How interesting. Shikaku. Naruto frowned. Suna was definitely up to something if she wasn't afraid to bring the One-Tails Jinchuriki here. Jinchuriki were the strongest weapons of each village, so their names were hidden from outsiders, so as not to let kami or shinigami steal such a treasure. And at the same time, they were feared and hated. For strength, for power that is not available to ordinary shinobi. Almost all Jinchuriki were rotted. Even the carrier of the Eight Tails, as far as Naruto knew, did not escape a similar fate, although he was the brother of the current Raikage. The tailed ones were divided between the villages. Equally, so to speak. What made Suna show her weapon almost openly and risk its safety so much? After all, it's unlikely that they brought sealing masters with them. The Jinchuriki's comrades didn't look particularly happy, but rather nervous and tired. Stretched strings, sensitively reacting to every flutter of the red-haired eyelashes. Shikamaru yawned long and nodded affably from the side desk. Next to him Choji was already crunching chips. The rest of those present, scanned, checked and mentally separated with their glances. Sasuke chuckled and lifted his chin proudly, straightening his shoulders. And on her face there is complete indifference, and a slightly mocking superiority. A true descendant of a great clan. Sakura trembled, bit her lip nervously, and Naruto took her hand. The girl smiled palely. Naruto understood how she felt. They had never encountered such open hostility before. Too many kids were allowed to take the exam this year, noted a guy with a sound protector on his forehead. You apparently have the opportunity to compare results with previous exams. Perhaps even with several. Naruto nodded impersonally and led her team to the rest of the Konoha people. The sound shinobi didn't even immediately realize what the girl was hinting at. And he fell silent when she turned her back to him, contrary to the instinct of self-preservation. Uchiha. The coat of arms of the famous clan on her back spoke volumes. About excellent preparation, at least. As Kakashi hinted, the first stage was led by Marino Ibiki. He chuckled, looked at the applicants, and seated them in different places so that members of the same team could only see each other, but not talk to each other. Shai Hinata was next to Naruto. Good luck, Naruto-san, she whispered quietly. Good luck, Hinata. The girl smiled in response. The princess herself asked to be addressed without titles. This made her terribly embarrassed. Talkers! Ibiki barked. The girls obediently fell silent. The rules for the first stage. They turned out to be very boring and confusing. It was necessary to write answers to 9 questions, after which the 10th question would be asked. Those who do not answer or answer incorrectly are eliminated. Those caught cheating are thrown out. Well, Ibiki knew how to escalate the situation professionally. His powerful figure in a black cloak pressed and suppressed, almost broke, made faces covered with sweat, and a terrible shiver ran down the back. And not so much the frightening scars on his face, but his very thick, heavy aura. Leaf Chunin, dressed in gray uniforms, took charge of everything. Kotetsu and Izumo, who were already familiar, grinned sarcastically as they looked at the white applicants. And Naruto had a headache from thinking through the likely possibilities of further developments with various options for ending the exam. Sound. Orochimaru needs something, since he sent his henchmen. And they are unlikely to have the main acting role. The snake does not trust strangers that much. Or rather, he doesn't trust anyone. They are extras, assistants, and red herrings. For what? Most likely, Sasuke is not his only goal. He hates Konoha and the third Hokage. For what? He expelled him from the village. Perhaps there was something else. The details of the incident at that time were classified, only vague details remained at the top. Suna is still actively weaving intrigues and has included Jinchuriki in the game. A weighty argument. They can act both separately and together. Naruto massaged her temples and opened her assignment sheet. The rest were already actively tapping their pencils, writing out answers. Problems must be solved as they arise. Her job is to keep Sasuke and her clan safe. Eyebrows shot up in surprise. Just for a second, and it was the only manifestation of her emotions at the moment. The tasks are not just difficult, but also with many possible solutions. Ordinary genin simply cannot answer this. Naruto chuckled. The purpose of this stage is to test the spying skills of other shinobi, to highlight the basic techniques, not only of their own, but also of the guests. To know what to watch out for. And observers do not so much expel as they record these methods. How else can one explain the fact that Tenten's impudence, with which she hung her mirrors on the lamp, was not punished? Or Ino, who formed a seal of concentration under the table, capturing Sakura's consciousness. They could not catch Sasuke, he was not noticed using the Sharingan. Modest Hinata wrote on her own, however this is not surprising. Haim has always been diligent in her studies. Describe the way this shinobi fights on a plane. And how do they imagine it? The conditions are scanty, very stingy. There is a curve, a schematic drawing, and an elliptical curved one, indicating the trajectory of a single flight of an enemy shuriken. But the fact of the matter is that the throw is single. It may not happen again, obstacles may arise on the way in the form of barriers, and another enemy shinobi may appear. Our ninja may be injured, which is why the flight of his shuriken is so unproductive and short. Naruto sighed. Provided there are no obstacles in the form of barriers, seals, doton and mokuton techniques. And also in the presence. If Marino Ibiki knew how to intimidate, then she knew how to hang custard ramen on her ears. And also quite professionally. As a result, in the hour allotted for the tasks, Naruto did not really answer a single question, describing the conditions that should exist and the obstacles that should not exist in order for one clan head with the rank of genin to be able to deduce the correct answer. Then the space ended, and the girl moved on to the next question, leaving an eloquent ellipsis. At the very beginning, she simply rewrote the Chinese text backwards. Most of all, she liked the performance given by the genin of the list, who were demonstrably disqualified. Screams, groans, wringing of hands. Great actors definitely died in them. The situation became tense, it even became difficult to breathe. And the ticking of the wall clock almost turned into a sentence. Naruto pushed the sheet aside with satisfaction. She did everything she could. And she hoped that the sound shinobi, who copied from her, focusing on the creaking and tapping of a pencil, was not grinding his teeth in vain. It seems that it only now dawned on him that the girl had not written anything significant, and all the assignments were simply pouring water. Nothing, it's good for him. You can't be so self-confident. The decisive phase of this stage has arrived. Marino Ibiki announced that he was going to ask the 10th question. And he warned that you need to choose whether to answer it or not. Anyone who fails to answer will forever lose the right to participate in the exams. Naruto sighed, keeping her cool. What truly stupidity! You can become a chunin not only through an exam, but rather for those who want to increase their rank faster. Many chose the long route. Accumulating the required number of missions of each rank could also grant a green vest. The Uchiha felt waves of horror and trembling roll through the classroom one after another. Marino Ibiki used interrogation and torture skills and psychic attacks. With stronger pressure, you can easily break a person's psyche, but the executioner carefully and accurately dosed the amount of fear he needed. Sakura clutched her shorts, crumpling the fabric, her knuckles turning white. If she can't stand it and gets up, it will all be over for her. Sasuke sat calmly, taking in what was happening with composure. And only slightly dilated pupils and a nervous tremor, almost invisible, showed that he, too, was having a hard time resisting. The Uchiha herself felt as if a heavy slab had been placed on her chest. All the joy of the last days disappeared somewhere, leaving in its place a depressing feeling of an inevitable, near end. And fear for my relatives reigned in my head. Naruto had difficulty controlling him. She clung to the black strands of Sasuke's hair, remembering others heavy, smooth, long, which she had recently run through with her fingers, caressed, sobbing with pleasure. A wave of sweet trembling from a sensual memory drove away the frozen feeling of fear. Naruto relaxed slightly. Haruno apparently remembered Naruto's advice because she moved the bracelet away. A couple of seconds were enough for calm and confidence to reign on her face again. Her lips parted in a weak smile. Don't be afraid of him. We are with you. We are close. Just a few lines reminded her of the team, that she was no longer alone. And friends nearby. Haruno leaned back in her chair. The Uchiha watched as several of the Leaf Kids raised their hands. Not only Decoy Chunin, but also ordinary Genin. Their teams were expelled. But there were still 78 people left, a lot compared to previous years. Ibiki's explanation brought the audience into a stupor and shock, and the spectacular, slightly ostentatious appearance of Midarashi Anko in her inimitable mesh suit and short skirt put the audience into a complete stupor. She complained that Ibiki had become too compassionate for allowing 26 teams to survive, and she invited them all to the 44th training ground in the morning. Also known as the Forest of Death, Polygon 44, Forest of Death. Jounin and especially talented Chunin trained here. Literally everything in it was dangerous, from plants to animals. Not only strong, hungry predators, but also giant leeches, carnivorous plants, blood-sucking bats. Naruto went there once, accompanied by Itachi. And I remembered the murderous heaviness, the dark stuffiness for a long time. True, now she has become stronger, and is no longer that scared girl. And she has someone to protect. The tediousness and rules contradicted the hot-tempered, addicted nature of Mitarashi Enko. But the woman knew how to be boring professionally. In a dry, formal tone, she read out a long list of rules and exceptions for the second stage of the Chunin exam, although if you remove the water from her words, the meaning became extremely simple. Grab 2 scrolls with opposite marks and take them to the tower in the center of the forest. And under no circumstances should you open them. Mitarashi dragged out the lecture for a good half hour, not paying attention to the yawning Chunin assistants behind the quickly put-together counter. With well-aimed kunai throws, she revived the applicants who were falling asleep while walking. Already half of them could boast of sharp scratches on their cheeks and droplets of blood. In vain, oh, in vain. You cannot go into the forest of death carrying the scent of blood with you. They will smell it instantly. Enko, apparently, thus decided to reduce the number of participants to the maximum, since the authorities failed to do this. She noticed Orochimaru almost immediately. He couldn't help but test the vigilance and level of knowledge of his former ward. And with a long tongue, the woman in the straw, cone-shaped hat returned the kunai to Enko. Naruto winced as she looked at the pinkish flesh, slick with saliva. Brr, what an abomination. Sakura also shivered nearby, and Orochimaru, hiding under the guise of a stranger, enjoyed the effect produced. Judging by Enko's reaction, or rather by its absence, while he is under the mask, the curse seal does not react to him, to his chakra. And Mitarashi didn't know the technique with a long tongue either. Naruto had a feeling they were going to have a rough time from the start. Finally, the lecture ended with the genin turning white and their limbs shaking. Enko licked her lips contentedly, looking at the result of her words, and waved her hand, allowing them to start distributing scrolls. Team number 7 got Sky. Naruto hid the scroll in the seal on her wrist. It wasn't enough to lose him. In 5 days they need to get the Earth Scroll and get into the tower. The Forest of Death has not changed for years, except that it only becomes more and more dangerous. Tall trees with rough trunks covered with greenish-brown moss, large roots protruding from the ground, reminiscent of thick, predatory snakes. And the mysterious rustling that filled the space from the grass to the spreading crowns that blocked the sun. Here, with the exception of rare small clearings, almost no sunlight penetrated. The animals managed without it. They found prey by smell or warm pulsation of blood. It smelled of damp earth and rotten grass, a tart, suffocating aroma. They were only about 100 meters away from the fence when the first scream, full of horror and pain, was heard. And surprise. Someone did not expect that genin would be allowed into such a place. But they are all shinobi, they are already performing tasks, and therefore, they must bear responsibility for their choices. Full responsibility. Sakura shuddered, looked around nervously, and took out a kunai. It's much calmer with a weapon. Sasuke allowed his teammate to stay close, looking around warily for enemies or opponents. The rest of the shinobi were older and more experienced. They had passed the exam more than once. And newcomers from Konoha could be considered easy prey. Naruto could only hope that the Uchiha clan crest would scare away those who were too zealous. But Orochimaru, the snake, purposefully followed Sasuke. Therefore, one had to be on guard. The girl sighed, bit her finger, and called one of the ravens. She jotted down a short note to Enko that her teacher was hiding among the title contenders. The Jonin and A and B were monitoring the exam, so they must react in time. Another whole flock of ravens scattered away from the girl in different directions, and the team listened for a long time to the gradually fading flapping of wings and the rustling of feathers. Naruto? Sakura turned to her friend. Crows are excellent scouts, Sasuke explained instead of his sister, intensely peering into the darkness swirling between the roots of the trees and stretching its tentacles towards them. Through them, we will be able to find out which team has the scroll we need, and where it is at the moment. And he looked worriedly at the older Uchiha. All this time, she will maintain a call from her own reserves and receive the necessary data from the disappearing ravens, as in shadow cloning. and its focus on the environment will weaken a little. Naruto smiled at the corners of her lips, reassuringly, and ruffled her brother's hair. An adult, such an adult and strong shinobi, albeit a genin. Sasuke was still too tense to sense his enemies. But the ability to maintain a relaxed appearance while carefully scanning the area comes with time and experience. To the Uchiha with their improved genome faster and in greater volume. They went deeper into the forest, constantly looking around, holding their weapons at the ready. They did not load themselves with luggage. But unlike other teams that came light, they prepared for a long stay in the forest. Naruto logically assumed that the second stage might take longer. The 44th training ground was never easy. Therefore, they sealed sleeping bags, a first aid kit, and weapons specially prepared the day before in scrolls. Naruto and Sasuke spent half the night sharpening kunai and shuriken and putting them on scrolls. Due to the characteristics of the body, the constant proximity to the Biju chakra, all Jinchuriki are good sensors. But even with such sensitivity, Naruto missed the approach of the enemy's chakra, sorting the information received from the disappeared raven. He discovered the team of Niji, Rock Lee and Tenten. Luckily, they had the same scroll as Naruto's team. A powerful shock wave came unexpectedly, almost scattering the genin in different directions. Naruto hissed in pain. The frightened Sakura, however, managed to grab her braid. The girl herself took out the ninja, cutting the wave into pieces, thereby weakening its effect. But Sasuke was carried away, but the Uchiha found his bearings in time and caught the tree with a fishing line. And, having made a circle, he returned to his original position next to his sister. Naruto! He fell silent, obeying the movement of the girl's palm. The Uchiha did not take her eyes off her opponent. That same suspicious woman in a straw hat. However, now her face seemed to flow like melting steel. A wide grin disfigured him, distorted him like a badly thrown mask. Kukuku, Naruto-chan, you have become stronger since our last meeting. Protect Sasuke at all costs. As she suspected, the woman turned out to be Orochimaru's disguise. And he is hunting for her beloved little brother. Naruto was not a hero. The role of the head of the clan, caring for her younger brother, taught her to be the first to rush into battle, no matter what. Because they couldn't handle the Sannin, not now, not with their level of power. Because behind her there are children who don't really understand what's going on and who this stranger is. Naruto didn't say anything, and she didn't let the snake Sannin either. 20 shadow clones rushed forward with wild screams and clutched kunai, diverting attention to themselves. The air resonated around the ninja's blade as the girl activated the seal. The directed blade of the wind cut off several trees, also knocking them down on Orochimaru. He finally threw off his mask, hissed, scattering the blondes, and dodged the falling crown with a rustle and creaking. And hit with another wave, which crashed against the scarlet one-way barrier placed in front of the genin team. Naruto seemed to feel this blow on herself. She had little time left before Orochimaru reached them. She bit her long-suffering finger again and hit the ground, making the necessary seals and sending maximum energy into them. And in a clearing cleared of trees, a giant raven with scarlet eyes appeared. Naruto? If he could, he would probably raise an eyebrow. Jump in, the girl commanded her comrades. And fly away. Sen will let me know where you are staying. But sister, Sasuke clearly did not want to leave her alone with a dangerous opponent. Naruto made another call, imbued the small crows with wind chakra, pure, dangerous. Deafening screams, eerie, announcing an imminent death, echoed overhead. Black feathers filled the air, flickered in front of Orochimaru, and dropped their feathers on him. Thanks to the wind chakra, they became sharp and fast like daggers. This is an order from the head of the clan. She probably turned pale. Even her chakra reserves are not unlimited. Sasuke darkened. In an instant his face turned into a mask of a perfect Uchiha. It started to hurt, but Naruto simply had no other choice. It would be better for her brother to sulk at her for using his position than to suffer or submit to Orochimaru. Sen extended his wing. Naruto initially did not intend to go through the forest of death inside and out. She is not such a heroic fool. Why take the risk when there is such a convenient call? All you need to do is find the team with the required scroll and recapture it. And then fly to the tower. Therefore, Naruto agreed with the elders of her summoning so that one of them would help save her friends if necessary. The girl grabbed the guys, jumped on the raven, hiding them in thick feathers and telling them to hold on. Then she flew down. Sen flapped his wings and rose into the air. The snakes summoned by Orochimaru tried to get him, but they failed. The raven deftly dodged and croaked mockingly and maliciously. And the Uchiha dropped to one knee. Summoning the Raven Elder also required a colossal amount of energy. She called the other birds away so as not to waste chakra in vain. Now she must distract Orochimaru from his flying brother so that he does not try to pursue them. The snake licked its lips, looking predatorily at its opponent. And the look of yellow eyes with a narrow pupil made Naruto feel uneasy. A shiver ran through her body and she swallowed nervously. Only now I realized that I was left alone with a living legend of war in a forest full of dangers. I won't give you Sasuke. She shook her head. Neither now nor later. Never. Chakra and techniques are good, of course. But sometimes you need to remember that you are a ninja. Naruto threw a fan of smoke bombs. A thick, whitish fog covered the clearing, and the girl jumped onto a stump left from a fallen tree and took a deep breath. Orochimaru, she felt him, literally saw him. How it is drawn into the tree trunk, how it practically dissolves. But she is a Jinchuriki, more sensitive than other shinobi. And the smoke screen will only give her one hit. Naruto was waiting. The one who knows how to wait wins. The cries of the ravens in the distance died down, and the wind in the treetops died down. The scales of giant Sannin snakes, blunt-nosed and dirty brown in color, rustled. The reptiles did not attack, they waited for commands. The Sannin was sadistically stalling for time, enjoying the agony and fear of the victim. If they were. Orochimaru appeared behind her, and the girl instantly turned around, releasing compressed clots of air saturated with wind chakra in short bursts. They pierced the trunks right through. She drove and drove Orochimaru, not allowing him to concentrate and get closer. She jumped through the trees like a maddened squirrel so as not to get hit by the fangs of the face on her elongated neck. And inside, the furious, orange chakra of the Kyuubi boiled and bubbled. The fox was eager for freedom, and persuaded him to give him the snake Sannin at his mercy. Just 4 tails. And Naruto believed it. She must not let the Sannin out of the clearing so that he does not chase after her younger brother, who was left without protection. Rage and hatred took over her. She was tired of being an all-forgiving Uchiha, tired of smiling when she wanted to roar and howl, tired of turning a blind eye to how people close to her are harmed. When she raised her eyelashes again, the blue of heaven was replaced by the lava flows of the flames of hell. A bubbling fiery red stole covered the skin. Thin, light and scalding. Its warmth spread, flowing through the chakra channels, through the vessels and veins along with the blood. Naruto breathed hot air. It penetrated into her lungs with a deadly poison, a terrible poison. And she hated the one who was now standing in front of her. Her hair turned red, a black stripe surrounded her lips, and fangs appeared. The fusion of demon and human is still incomplete, but already close to ideal. They breathed together, their hearts beat in the same rhythm. They were united by one desire. Kill. The feeling of her own power was intoxicating, and Naruto also liked the way she wiped the smile from Orochimaru's lips. The Sannin eluded the blows of the tails, the clods of earth raised by the power of the Kyuubi, and the spreading river of flame. Naruto barely moved, but a storm of hot air swirled around her. The silhouette of the demon living inside appeared. Orochimaru could not allow himself to be detected by the Jonin of Konoha, and he had no doubt that everyone would come running to such an outburst of chakra. And he chose to retreat. When he was out of sight, Naruto collapsed to the ground, exhausted. How to cut the doll strings? All around was scorched earth with fragments of tree trunks, loosened and raised by strange tree structures, which slowly collapsed, having lost their supply of demonic energy. She needed to leave. Elderson signaled the place where he was staying. Raven protected her friends, her brother. And along with this protection, the girl's strength flowed away. But she's an Uchiha, she can handle it. Naruto stood up, staggering, clinging to the rough bark of the tree. My head was spinning, and a strange emptiness and apathy reigned inside. I didn't want anything. Uzumaki were called scarlet demons for their temperament. Naruto had been holding back her feelings, worries and anxieties for too long. Now that they came out to attack Orochimaru, it became easy and empty. And indifferent. I didn't want anything. Just sleep. She's too tired. A little later, he will definitely apologize to Sasuke and again worry about him, worry about Itachi. But now indifference and emptiness overwhelmed her. Naruto shook herself. Although she felt squeezed like a lemon, the reserve was full again. The Kyuubi's attack, the union of consciousnesses, allowed the demon to replenish the carrier's chakra reserves. For which Naruto was sincerely grateful. She jumped onto a tree and galloped towards Sun and her brother and Sakura. The Jounin will not have evidence against her, she will not allow Danzo to declare the Jinchuriki unable to restrain the demon, and she will not allow her to get the Kyuubi. Sister! The brother was no longer sulking, he jumped up and supported Naruto by the arm. And he was horrified. The always blooming sister looked exhausted, her skin stretched over her cheekbones, her bright eyes faded, they were covered with a tired veil. But the girl still found the strength to bow to the raven. Thank you for your help, Elderson. The voice is hoarse and broken. Wind techniques are not in vain, especially if you haven't really been able to train. There have been too many things to do lately. The answer was the soft touch of the raven's wing, after which the call stopped. A wave of relief came when the thread of the contract stopped drawing strength. Naruto looked around. For shelter, Sincho's a small, bright clearing, surrounded on all sides by trees and thorny bushes. The guys were hiding in a cave formed by tree roots protruding from the ground. Sakura's eyes sparkled with alarm, her fingers clenching the kunai until she convulsed. But she had already set up camp. 2 sleeping bags fit in the cave, that's it. One must be on guard. However, Naruto understood that now she simply could not leave someone on duty. They might attack again, but she has no strength left. The emotional upheaval is sometimes as debilitating as the physical damage. She needs sleep. I'll do everything. Sasuke unrolled the scroll with the barrier seals and poured in chakra. Their house was surrounded by red walls. The Uchiha himself helped his sister get to her sleeping bag. Lie down and don't think about anything. He smiled softly. Naruto nodded gratefully and fell asleep as soon as her head touched the soft material. Sasuke was afraid, terribly afraid. Like never before. First a strange woman who suddenly turned into a man. Orochimaru, Naruto talked about a snake Sannin who dreams of acquiring the legendary dojutsu for personal use. And the sister remained to fight with him, and sent them to a safe place. Intellectually, Sasuke understood that Naruto had a better chance alone, no, not to win, but to survive until help arrived. But I was still afraid. There is nothing worse than the unknown. He sat quietly in the clearing and remembered his sister's stern eyes when she used for the first time her title of head of the clan. Her determined face and her tightly clenched fists appeared before my eyes. And I wanted to howl, but the guy just bit his lower lip. And the brain mercilessly calculated how much chakra Naruto spent on numerous calls, on distracting maneuvers, on attacks. And I wanted to believe that this was not all she had, that she still had the will and determination to fight. The raven in the clearing gave some reassurance. If he was here, Naruto was alive. After all, with the death of a shinobi, the call is interrupted. Sasuke cursed his helplessness, his inability to protect his sister. And at times he cursed Itachi for blaming so much on his wife. For making me worry. For the entire previous week, Naruto had literally been flying, happy and airy. And Sasuke, blushing, did not want to know the reason for this behavior, although he guessed. And he smiled with her. He wanted to protect Naruto, to help her. But she took it all on herself again. And he, sitting in the darkness of the cave, in the shackles of a reddish barrier, could only unravel his disheveled, scorched, scorched braid in places. I'll restore it when you disband it, Sakura said quietly. Sasuke nodded, bitterness rising in his throat. Naruto is his age, his sister. So why can't he protect her? Why so weak? What is he missing? Tired wrinkles smoothed out, plump lips formed a weak smile. She must have been dreaming about something very good. And my sister looked her age again. Everything will be fine, Sakura whispered. Sasuke clenched his fists and jumped up. I wanted to yell at the kunoichi, even hit her. But in the green eyes there is the same concern that she has. Today Sakura shared with him the awareness of her own helplessness and uselessness. Everything has its time. Sakura handed her friend a cup of tea, prepared on a tiny fire in the corner of the cave. That's what Naruto once told me. I complained to her about weakness, and she advised me not to rush. Even the first Hokage, she said, was not always capable of founding an entire village. As she spoke, she trimmed the ends of Naruto's hair and grew it to the same length. Sasuke hit the back of his head against the wall. Sakura talks to her sister too much. And she becomes insightful, attentive, like a real ironing. And she's right. He was not born with knowledge of techniques. He can only develop this talent and improve. To one day be able to protect Naruto. Naruto woke up the next morning, as cheerful as boiling water. Full of strength and enthusiasm, the desire to live. And it wouldn't hurt to eat. The picture I saw touched me and made me smile. Sakura fell asleep sitting, leaning against the wall of the cave, with her palms wrapped around a cup of tea that was already dangerously tilted. And Sasuke lay next to her sleeping bag, clutching a strand of long hair in his fingers. Naruto examined her hair. Yesterday it seemed to her that Orochimaru had trimmed her hair significantly, and that the Kyuubi flame had shortened her haircut. But no, everything is in place, in the same condition. We must definitely thank Sakura, who is currently having classes on neutral chakra concentration. Naruto carefully released the lock of hair, carried the boys onto their sleeping bags and removed the barrier that had turned pale during the night. Sasuke deposited enough chakra for the Fuin to ensure they slept safely. Meanwhile, the sun was shining outside, and the early birds were already singing with all their might. Somewhere a bear was growling. It smelled of grass, moisture, and just a little wild honey. Naruto stretched, gladly straightening her stiff muscles. She crunched her bones and got to work making a fire. After yesterday's worries, the guys will probably wake up hungry. While the porridge was cooking, the girl found a small stream at the edge of the clearing. I washed my face, scraped my jaw, and felt almost human. A very hungry man. She changed her clothes, throwing away the Sanin's tattered clothes without regret. She pulled her hair into a strict bun and returned to the bowler hat. While stirring the porridge, I remembered how phenomenally delicious Anko cooks camp food. The top is crispy, burnt, the bottom is raw, and the middle is oversalted. And how does he manage to do it? The grass rustled behind me. Naruto didn't have time to turn around when a solid projectile crashed into her. Sasuke wrapped his arms around his shoulders and sniffed into his sister's hair. Next time I will definitely be able to protect you, the smallest Uchiha promised with an oath. My heart sank from sincerity. Naruto squeezed her brother's hand, slowly turned around in his embrace, and looked into his serious, black eyes. And where is that funny kid who was hiding from the girls on the windowsill of the academy? Don't renounce, she advised softly. And don't rush to grow up. I'll wait. Sasuke nodded, grateful for the understanding. And he looked into the pot. Naruto giggled. Her little brother's face was a funny mixture of horror and disgust. This is porridge! Almost an accusation. Naruto giggled even more. She nodded. How did you guess? It gurgles and moves. Sasuke took the spoon and poked it. His brother's dislike for porridge came from deep and distant childhood, when little Sasuke refused to eat it, and only Itachi could force him. And he forced it. Even in cases where even the parents gave up. Irreparable childhood trauma. Good morning. Sakura crawled into the light with a towel and washing supplies. And, almost without opening her eyes, she crawled towards the stream, guided by Naruto's hand. Haruno was a classic night owl, and in the morning, half asleep, she often acted without regaining consciousness. They sat right on the grass around the fire, spreading blankets, since the ground was still damp from dew and cold. The morning forest of death no longer seemed so terrible. Along with the night, the sharpness of yesterday's terrible memories faded away. Everyone experienced what happened and drew important conclusions for themselves. Naruto raised her face to a visible piece of blue sky with light white clouds, so pure and high. Today will be a great day. The bushes rustled, loudly, powerfully. It couldn't be a hare or a squirrel or a small bird. This is how a large creature passes. At best, a human. The team took out their weapons and placed them next to them, after which they continued to calmly eat breakfast. But out of the corner of their eye they watched the suspiciously rustling bushes. The crackling became more and more distinct, the nerves became more and more tense. Beast or human, they will have to fight for their scroll or for their lives. Or maybe for both. A girl, judging by her appearance, was their age, came out into the clearing, shaking off thorns and leaves. Not too tall, thin, wearing clean, neat clothes. Which is surprising for the second day of stay at the 44th training ground. But the first thing that caught your eye was the color of her long hair flowing over the headband. Deep scarlet, like blood or sunset, thick, they descended in a silky wave. The symbol of grass was visible through the torn bangs. Naruto relaxed slightly, and removed her hand from the ninja. The guest's facial features, the way her red eyes looked inquisitively from behind her glasses, reminded her of a certain person. "Good morning," she greeted the familiar stranger affably. "Good morning, Naruto Uchiha-san." The girl greeted her politely and bowed low. "My name is Uzumaki Karen, I am the daughter, Keiko." Naruto picked up. "You are very similar to your mother." The girl straightened up, and a happy smile bloomed on her face. "Thank you, this is the best compliment for me. I was looking for you to give you a letter from my mother." She slowly, under the inquisitive, wary gaze of Sasuke, whose fingers danced at the handle of the ninja, took out from her bosom a snow-white envelope with the seal of the whirlpool. "Please share a place by the fire and a meal with us." Naruto accepted the envelope and waved her hand invitingly. "With pleasure." It was clear that politeness and restraint were difficult for the girl, in whose veins the indomitable temper of the Uzumaki was welling up. But she tried very hard. Karen sat down on the blanket next to Naruto and accepted the plate from Sakura, nodding her thanks. And she took the spoon. She devoured the porridge as if she had not been fed for a week. Also a feature of the chakra and vitality of the Uzumaki body. They required a lot of nutrients to develop, but at the same time they remained slim. Karen's appetite was so great that Sakura, without protest, filled the deep plate again, rummaged in her bag, and took out a piece of bread that had survived the evening meal. Naruto was convinced that no one was going to offend her distant relative. Sasuke took the position of an observer and guard and began to examine the letter. The whirlpool seal, a special one that was used during the existence of the village, and only members of the Uzumaki clan. Naruto herself was shown this seal by the same Keiko. The girl did not risk corresponding with grass, so as not to attract unnecessary attention to Shursui and the Uzumaki family. She was content with the woman's rare visits to the teacher, and the news conveyed through him. And now she was consumed with anxiety. What happened when Keiko risked her safety and wrote a message? A few drops of blood, the right seals, and the fume flared up, allowing the message to unfold. If handled inappropriately, the letter would burn. Keiko wrote on an ordinary flat sheet of paper, which is strange since scrolls were mostly used. Apparently, the issue here was not about convenience, but about the safety of correspondence. Uzumaki Uchiha Naruto-san, I know how you do not like to take risks and care about the good of your clan and brother. Therefore, I believe that you can understand my concern. Recently, raids on the village near which our shelter is located have become more frequent. The opponents not simple robbers, but singing Nukanins are getting closer and closer. Therefore, for the sake of saving the lives of Karen and Shia, as the head of our small family, I ask you for help and protection. Grass is not capable of sheltering from cold and blizzards, but the leaf, even if battered, will easily adapt to the flow of the wind. And I am ready to take an oath of allegiance, not to the Uchiha clan, but to you personally. As is my whole family. Uzumaki Keiko. Naruto looked at the even lines written in clear handwriting with the strong pressure of a steady hand. The message was written in moments of extreme emotional stress. Keiko was worried about the safety of her family. As always, her speech was short and matter-of-fact. And at the same time, the woman reminded of friendship her address. That's what she always called Naruto as a joke. Keiko belonged to a family of scouts and spies who at one time hid in an unknown direction to protect their family. For this reason, she was wary of large villages, lived in the forest with her daughter, and made a living from one-time orders from the nearest village. Apparently, the situation could not be more serious, since she sacrificed her pride and asked for help. There was nothing wrong with asking friends for support, but Keiko believed that she had to cope on her own. It looks like not this time. Did your mother tell you about her conditions? She turned to Karen, who had previously been peacefully answering Sakura's questions. The girl immediately got up and adjusted her glasses. Yes, Naruto-san. And you agree with them? Yes. So is my mother, and my fiancé. She blushed slightly. Sakura raised her eyebrows in surprise. She did not expect a kunoichi to have a groom at that age, because Karen was no older than her. But Sasuke didn't even blink an eye. Should he be surprised? Okay. Naruto nodded thoughtfully, already wondering how she could legally bring 3 shinobi into the village for permanent residence. The approximate plan emerged quite clearly. Keiko had no military responsibilities to other villages. There would be no problem with her. Konoha would happily welcome a censor of such power into its arms. Karen. The Uchiha looked at the grass protector on the girl's forehead. I have not proven myself in the best way at our academy. Karen correctly understood her doubts. Her eyes flashed slyly behind her glasses. Naruto grinned. And here it will be easy. Grass is unlikely to protest if Leaf takes on not their best student, without special skills and inclinations. Karen could, like her mother, be a free mercenary, but she needed to get into Konoha and convey a request for help. That's where the tread comes from, that left sure sway. Even Sasuke didn't know that he lived next to the grass. Naruto did not take risks. You never know who would have thought of reading the thoughts of the clan heir. She would have put mental seals on him, but she didn't want to cripple the child's mind. She was not that much of an expert in Fuinjutsu. Masking is the simplest and most effective solution. Naruto drafted a letter of invitation to live in Konoha for Keiko and her family, sealed it, and sent it along with the raven to her friend. Yes. She clapped her hands. Now let's get acquainted again. Sakura, Sasuke, this is my relative, one might say niece, Karen Uzumaki. And this is my younger brother Sasuke Uchiha and friend and teammate Sakura Haruno. Karen bowed and smiled cheerfully. We collect our belongings and go to get the Earth Scroll. If you don't mind, you're with us. Naruto turned to Karen. No need, Naruto-san. Uzumaki shook her head in response. And she took out the required scroll from her pocket. My team died last night. We were attacked by a bear. I went looking for you as soon as I healed my wounds. We won't need the scroll anymore. Sasuke and Sakura looked at each other. They couldn't believe their luck. Thank you. Naruto nodded to the girl. She hid the second scroll in the seal. So, we can go to the tower. Elderson came to the call again. The whole company loaded onto the raven's back, and it took off heavily, flapping its wings. It wasn't the first time Naruto had flown on the back of her summon, but it was the first time in this world. The wind in your face, the noise in your ears, the sun's rays on your skin. And glossy, cool feathers sliding between your fingers. Amazing! It took her breath away when she looked down. Sun landed right in front of the tower. A mocking croak was born in his chest as he lowered his wing, touching the ground with his large feathers. A sort of slide for kids. Thank you, Elder. Naruto whispered quietly as her comrades squealed and squeaked down. using chakra to glide so as not to tear out their feathers. We signed a contract. As if that explained everything. Naruto smiled and jumped down. The raven disappeared, and they turned to a wide building with a sealed gate. 2 days, they finished it in 2 days. The rest of the teams have not arrived yet, which means they have to wait here for 3 more. Sasuke cut the seal off the doors. The room inside was square, narrow, the side doors led to narrow corridors with numerous doors. Just in case the genin arrive at the tower earlier. Let's settle down, Sakura suggested. And she plopped down on the bed in the first room she came across. Not on Earth! Amazing! The others laughed and went to their rooms. Naruto got a typical, rectangular room with a single narrow window. There was a bed in the corner, on which the girl threw her sleeping bag. You can catch food in the forest, as well as wash and swim. A river with crystal clear water flowed next to the tower. But she still had work to do. Naruto took out a set of writing instruments, which she almost never parted with. It was unusual for a shinobi to carry around a brush, ink, and numerous empty scrolls and sheets, but not for someone whose work was 90% paper. Naruto wrote a request to the Hokage with the seal of the head of the Uchiha clan, so that they would consider it quickly and without delay. In it, she asked for assistance in registering Uzumaki Keiko, Uzumaki Karen, and Uzumaki Shi in the village hidden in the leaves as her relatives. Whirlpool was a long-time ally of the leaf, the Hokage should not refuse. She also indicated that they do not have citizenship of another country and military responsibilities other than Karen. But she is ready to settle this personally by paying the necessary tax for the transfer of genin from one village to another. She promised to take few ninjutsu masters under her protection and introduce them into the clan as her relatives by blood. The next raven flew to Ryusan with a request to ensure that the chapter's task was completed and all the necessary papers were received. Just when the raven with the second letter became a dot on the horizon, Sasuke knocked on the door and entered. Naruto patted the bed next to her, and the guy crawled under her side and put his arm around her waist. This Karen, the brother did not know how to formulate the question. She really is my distant relative. Naruto nodded. Uzumaki, like me, on my mother's side. She will live with us, become part of the clan. I hope this doesn't cause misunderstandings? She asked sternly, narrowing her eyes. Sasuke shook his head. No. He thoughtfully ran his fingers along the line of his sister's life. She's not dangerous. And perhaps even a good one. Do you trust her? He raised his face, looking inquisitively into the eyes of the older Uchiha. Her mother is my friend, she helped me a lot in her time. And yes, I trust them. Sasuke nodded in satisfaction and lay back on Naruto's chest. And I believe you, he said. Naruto kissed the fluffy top of her head. Sasuke pressed closer, hugging him even tighter. It was as if he was trying to grow body into body, to become closer, to share all the worries and drown them in Naruto. The girl knew a similar phenomenon. After the death of Sasuke's parents, he lacked human warmth. He needed someone to make him feel alive and the world around him to feel true. That someone was Naruto. The answer from the Hokage and Ryusen came the next day. To be honest, Naruto did not expect such speed, not with the current turmoil and confusion around the exam. They were sitting at the table. In the tower there was a small kitchenette with a scanty wooden table, shabby and old, but still strong. The 4 of them could hardly fit around him, colliding with elbows and knees, and someone had to crawl into the very corner, from where it was damn difficult to get out without help. But they still continued to gather in the kitchen, although they could have moved the table anywhere. So they thought they were getting closer. And they talked and talked. Karen asked about everyday life and lists, but did not start a conversation about moving. And she looked warily at Naruto, because she hadn't really communicated her decision. The flapping of wings came unexpectedly. Ryusan's hunting falcon brought both letters. The Hokage forwarded his answer to the clan quarter, as he knew that the Uchiha was currently taking an exam. The deputy, he is also the head of the detachment, he is also the head's bodyguard, he is also her head coach, He is also Ryusen forwarded the answer to the authorities. The Hokage agreed to accept 3 Uzumaki into the village. Of course, Fuinjutsu masters and fresh blood, and so strong at that. Naruto specifically didn't point out that Karen and SHI were related. Let them dream a little. Villages fought for the remnants of the ancient clan, for its unique vitality and understanding of the mastery of seals, almost lost in modern times. The whole problem is that they only considered already accomplished shinobi and did not consider it profitable to spend time and money on someone who might not subsequently recoup the efforts invested. It was not for nothing that Naruto mentioned that all 3 Uzumaki are professional shinobi. She didn't know about Shia. Along the way they would figure out how to hide his improved genome. Naruto-san. Karen's voice sounded uncertain for the first time. The girl showed herself to be a strong, courageous person, capable of fighting back not only in words, but also in deeds. True, this did not apply to techniques. All of Karen's chakra went into her sensory abilities and healing. The girl could not use strong techniques, and now she hesitated, looked into her eyes as if she was afraid that they would be rejected. The Hokage indicated the amount that the grass representative requested for Karen's transfer. The personal papers for the others were already ready. All that remained was to take photographs. Naruto bit her lip. Ryusen, as always, understood her correctly and completed his task amazingly. Excellent documents were provided to the administration in the names of Keiko Uzumaki and Shia Uzumaki, with dates of birth, place, time, and approximate description of abilities. You won't dig it. Everything is fine. Naruto smiled, taking out writing materials. The guys thoughtfully cleared the table in the blink of an eye and wiped it down so that there were no greasy stains left. Naruto laid out the papers and began to write an answer. An order to pay the required amount, hidden praise to a subordinate. And a letter from Keiko with details, since they had to issue the legend in a coordinated and clear manner. Well, that's all. The girl sent letters with crows. She looked around at her comrades. Now you officially become a member of the Uchiha clan and my relative. We'll show you the house when we leave the forest. And your mother and fiancé will arrive there. Karen bowed her head, covering her face with her hair. Her shoulders trembled, but not a sound escaped her bitten lips. It's hard to imagine how scared and lonely she was, how afraid she was for her mother and Shursui. Alone, in a strange village, among hypothetical enemies. How afraid I was that Naruto wouldn't agree. How could she disagree? Naruto patted the girl's head like a little sister. This was the last straw. Karen sobbed once and pressed herself against the girl's side. Thank you, she just whispered.